and your children are turned into mindless vassals who now they look up to some twit instead of looking up to Thomas Jefferson or looking up to Nikola Tesla or looking up to Magellan. I mean, kids, Magellan's a lot cooler than Justin Bieber. He circumnavigated with one ship the entire planet. He was killed by wild natives before they got back to Portugal. And when they got back, there was only...
But why? $22 million in 3 fucking hours! There is no nobility in poverty. I have been a rich man and I have been a poor man, and I choose rich every fucking time. The real question is this: was all this legal? Absolutely fucking not. Neither go towards the feeding grounds at the edge of the ice, nor return to the colony. Shortly afterwards, we saw him heading straight towards the mountains, some 70 kilometers away. Dr. Ainley explained that even if he caught him and brought him back to the colony, he would immediately head right back for the mountains. But why?
What's your dream? To go away.
To go away. That's right.
Do you guys want to drink? I don't understand why everybody has to be so judgmental. I understand why mom's judgmental. I think it's because she cares partially. And it's also partially because everyone else is looking at her like, hey, Cody's just a bum. Cody's this, Cody's that, Cody's this. Cody's me, bro. Let me be me.
Let's go, baby. Happy Thursday. We're back, bro. Yes. As Top Plumber noted, he's up early for the market opens. You know, congratulations. This guy is one to get it. Early bird gets the worm. We're here. It's 9:52 a.m. EST. We're up early because we have a few Australian people across the globe that are about, 12 hours ahead of us. And this is the best we could do. So, yes, we're very early today, but we're making it work because we have some great guests on. Starting off the day, we have Dolphin coming on, Dolphin AI, which is the uncensored model provider for Venice. So absolutely a banger there. All revenues flow back to the token, as far as I'm aware. Of course, I think this is probably on a dip because the market is getting clobbered. As you see by the title, though, on-chain is holding up surprisingly well. Following Dolphins, we have Lord of Few, or Loaf, who is the founder of Daydreams, which is X402 payment facilitator, all that good stuff. They won the 250K pump on hackathon, squeezed in there at the very end. So that'll be exciting. Are they going to do an ace round? We like to squeeze this kind of stuff out. Following that, we got VeilNet, one I'm not super familiar with, and it seems like they're very technical. So getting the full breakdown from them is going to be really helpful, followed up by Salads, who is co-founder of Sade Infrastructure, which is giving agents identities. And we know this has been a topic we've talked about quite a bit. So with that being said, Josh is going to give a quick intro. He's been printing money, delimbing. Shout out Meteora, keeping the show going. This show is presented to you by Meteora. Join the Discord right here, actually. Where is it? Trade right there. Boom. Join the Discord. And Josh, let them know why they should be trading and DLMMing on Meteora.
Yes, and Dom, can you get the links out too, by the way?
Got
as
you.
well while I do this? Okay, guys. So Soju was talking about this SV151 token yesterday and kind of warned everyone that this was coming today. And it's a first little experiment here, a good implementation of Bedrock. And we've covered Bedrock extensively on this program, talking about it as a way to give equity ownership or more ownership rights to token holders through their specific legal structure. Now, that was specifically for startups and on-chain businesses. However, they are making it for equity ownership of any asset. And so the first kind of proof of concept is SV151, which is a very Scarlet Violet 151 expansion pack from the Pokemon Trading Card Game Series. This is a highly sought after pack of cards from the OG Pokemon. And what's interesting is they've raised 200K, issuing out 80% of the supply. They're using 160K USDC to buy all these packs up. And then they're using, 10 to 20% for liquidity. And then there is some sort of linear vest here, but nonetheless, the focus here is just raise capital, corner the market on specific packs, and then make that asset tradable. So anyways, this thing goes live. I'm like, okay, yeah, keep watching this. I'm at my monitor and all of a sudden I see the tweet, a little later than I would have liked to have seen it. But here we have it trading live and it is just printing fees. I think my APRs on this, if I scroll down here, are we've got 300%, 24-hour APRs. And guys, why I like delimbing specifically tokens like this, it's a new launch, so the liquidity hasn't been set up. It's not as competitive. There's kind of an edge in being early here, as well as high volume, and the asset has some underlying floor to it. Also, they're going to take these fees that they get from SV151 token fees and then go and continue buying more packs. Now, on the Pokemon trading market, these are unopened packs, and the unopened packs trade a little differently from what I understand. The Pokemon cards, after talking to TCG and cards over the even slabs over the last kind of couple months. Again, if you're on MCG, we were covering the TCG meta before really anyone else was streaming outside the diehard Pokemon streams. But in terms of the trenches, we were the first to really cover these narratives, cover these tokens, cards. I mean, Dom has absolutely made away like a bandit on that, from 8 mil to 50 mil. So congrats, Dom, on that trade.
I'll be adding more here on the step.
Adding more on this step, love it. But what we've learned from these TCG plays is that the unopened packs are kind of like a tradable commodity. They're fungible in a way, and they once you corner the supply on that, you can charge a much higher premium to them. And that's kind of what this is trading off. Again, more of a narrative thing. But hey, I'm going to delim and take the fees. Again, I put this trade on 30 minutes ago. I've already, on 7 SOL, I've already made half a SOL just in fees alone. So liking that. But yeah.
Nice, dude. Banger. Yeah, as Josh mentioned, also out here trading some dips, man. Everything's kind of going down. Let me just do a quick check-in on the market. We got like 2 minutes before we have Dolphin come on. So we're going to jump really quickly into it today rather than just our normal flow of things. But let me pull up the market real quick so we can just give it a look-see, because everything is melting. We're actually bouncing a bit today, better than the last couple days. But I believe the last couple days as well, we started with a bit of a bounce before. It just continued to move down. So Josh, by the way, notoriously exited his Hyperliquid yesterday, like around $73, I believe. So it's already looking like a solid exit there for Hyperliquid. Josh, any comments?
Yeah, the day before, to be honest with you, right at the top, Pico bottom to top trade. So yeah, nothing to add here. I don't love this market. This is like this is gonna wash out everyone who's not absolutely convicted in crypto at this point.
Yeah, but I do think it brings us closer to a bottom. I think we're pretty much there.
Sure.
So it's nice to see. I was watching Trader Man the other day, and he said this. Solana at $70, like we're in deep value, whether it bottoms out here, whether it bottoms out at $40, like we're in that deep value territory where if you have a little bit of nuts on you, you can hold for a bit. You're looking pretty good. But let's check out the market. So Bitcoin, of course, taking a tumble. It's actually relatively even on the day based on the recent bounces. But, we've tested kind of double test here, double bottom, if you will, here on the 1 hour. It's bouncing a bit, but brutal chart overall. You look at the weekly, this just has no signs of bulls in control. Clearly the bears are in control here. So potentially we do a little flush out here. But again, I think you're in that deep value territory. When you start looking at Bitcoin from a market cap denomination, it gets pretty crazy that we're this low. I mean, Bitcoin's trading at a market cap below some of these top companies, below many top commodities. And we got to remember, this is a whole new financial primitive. You'd think like the whole sector would be a little more valuable. So I think Bitcoin is in deep value territory here. I think Ethereum is just, I don't even want to talk about Ethereum. What a terrible asset. Foundation continues to sell. It just looks terrible. Whatever, nothing there. Solana, same thing, deep value territory. As for other stuff we've been talking about, we've been mentioning a few altcoins, right? Hype, Ton, Near, Zek, Jito, Sui, Grass, WorldCoin, Railgun, all that good stuff. We're in an interesting situation because you have these unique runners where there's like very focused liquidity. And I just made a tweet about this the other day, but the truth is we're not going to have a rising tide lifts all ships meta like we've had in the past where Bitcoin runs, ETH runs, some of the leaders run, and every other alt just follows suit and goes straight up in a vertical line like we saw in 2020, even more so in 2017 and, beyond or before, I should say. I don't think we're going to have that. I think it's going to be very focused pockets of liquidity and very specific narratives that run. It's very difficult bidding in this market, knowing Bitcoin's nuking, how do you bid everything else? So it's a bit of a waiting game. But I do still think, and I'm sure Josh will agree here, if you get that hype sub 50, you're in pretty interesting territory to start buying again. Price to earnings just makes sense. Near protocol has been catching a bid. The key here is just watching strength, right? What's been strong? There's a lot that's been beaten down and berated for just so long now. And it's really put it in deep undervalued territory, and everyone's waiting for an alt season, but that doesn't erase the fact that some of this stuff is extremely undervalued for the developments they've been doing, the revenue they're starting to bring in. I believe Grass just had a quarterly call, and some of their reportings came out on that. Their revenue numbers are pretty incredible based on what I saw. Let me see. I think I have a bookmark. So yeah, real quick, just to tab over to this. Their what is this? Yeah, okay. Their Q4 projected revenue, they're projecting about 13 million in revenue Q4, which is pretty insane. I remember mining Grass before it launched. So I was really participating in this pre-launch, and to see where it's come is pretty incredible. It just seems like the market's not fully picking this up yet. I need to listen to the call though, so can't really give you much more there. We saw, of course, Railgun kind of retracing. WorldCoin. This is Sam Altman's coin. Josh had a bit of a thesis on this.
I need to do more research on this. I was away yesterday, but WLD is like top of my list. I think the TLDR here is that OpenAI is going to go public, and then this will trade as some sort of on-chain beta. It's like 1.3 million. Again, they're doing human verifiable people basically on Tinder. They've signed agreements with Zoom so that when you swipe right on someone or you're on Zoom, you know that that person is a human. So I just think the integrations and the announcements of integrations are catalysts that will move this. But Arthur, I'm really going off the Arthur Hayes here. I'm not fading Arthur Hayes. I'm just kind of following what his plays are. He sold hype. I sold hype before Arthur, which is great. But he sold hype in Near. He's keeping WLD. Apparently, this is also getting exchange listings. So I think WorldCoin is one to really, really keep an eye on. I also like Ton, and we'll get Luke up here in a second. But I really like this here on my chart. Really quick, I'll flip to my chart here, Dom, if you can just tab over to my screen share. Yeah. It's got this Jones-Rida 50-day moving average, and it's right at these kind of support area, which it bounced out of last night. So I do like Ton here. It's also rebranding to Gram, and Ton's
rebranding to Gram. That seems like rebranding to Gram, considering Instagram.
Yeah, well, it's Telegram, but yeah, so it's rebranded Graham. Long story short, Pavel is taking a more active role in the network and going back to its roots, pre, Ton, which the SEC like wouldn't let them doing. So, Ave, what's up? Ben Cohen was right as always. Don't know who's Ben Cohen.
You don't know who Ben Cohen is?
Not on the top of my head right now, but
No, you recognize his face if you saw it. You would recognize his
Okay.
face. He's he's got the white. I think he's got white hair now. Nonetheless, you'd recognize him. But yeah, so those are two interesting ones because the founder, and I think WorldCoin's trading at like $1.5 billion last I checked.
billion and a half, guys.
Which I don't know how much revenue they're doing. I don't know what their economics
Yeah.
look like, but solely off the fact that it's tied to Sam Altman, I think is a pretty compelling.
Yeah. I also
growth
read
narrative.
that their token emissions were reducing by half starting June or July. So there is some reduction, but nonetheless, let's tee up Pod AI here and
I gotta check out their mission
for
schedules.
Dolphin AI,
Nonetheless, yep.
yes.
Let's talk about Dolphin real quick, guys. Before we pull up Luke, Dolphin AI has one that's gotten a lot of buzz. Of course, we saw
Yes.
the Venice narrative go absolutely crazy. People loved the idea of staking Venice to earn Deem, which you can use for $1 a day in compute. We saw different marketplaces spin out to sell your excess compute. One thing that's interesting about Venice, though, is they have a specific provider for their uncentralized or decentralized, uncensored LLMs within the Venice app, and that's none other than Dolphin AI. As far as I'm aware, I believe they're the only uncensored model on Venice, which we're going to see if true. A few big things is I've heard that all revenue flows back to the token. So curious to get more of a look on the economics there. And just, how the fervor and excitement is for these uncensored models. Are people using them? We know Venice has an insane user base. I think we saw that Dolphin has over 5 million monthly downloads on Hugging Face. So this is pretty nuts. It's one you want to position in if they can come on here and say the right thing. So we got Luke to come and talk to us through it.
Can you throw a chart of it? Like, I got to give a shout out quick to my guy, Decentralize or Die. This guy had this thing called at like sub 2 mil and it ran like crazy.
I will throw up a chart for context here. It was a great play. I mean, again, sleepy market. This thing was chilling down here for so long, despite having insane user metrics and growth. Of course, Venice kind of kicked it off a bit, but a sleepy market is making people miss really great plays. So, maybe it's not a really great play. Maybe it is. We got Luke coming up to talk to us about it. We are excited to do so. Nonetheless, Luke, welcome to the show. We appreciate you making time for us today.
Likewise. Nice to meet you guys.
Nice to meet you as well. We've had a few Are you Australian, I'm assuming?
Yeah.
Yeah, we've had a few Australians on the show, and the times are really tricky for them because of the extreme time difference. What time is it for you right now?
It's midnight.
Midnight. Okay, there we go. Well, we have another Aussie coming on after this, so 2 late nights for you boys. So we appreciate you guys coming through. Really excited to get into this. I think a lot of people are going to enjoy this episode. I've heard the rumors on the timeline. I've seen the chats talking about what Dolphin is, but there's no better place to get it than from the horse's mouth, from the source here. So Luke, let's start at the top. Can you tell us about yourself? Introduce yourself, your background, where you come from, and then we'll get into how that leads into Dolphin in a second.
Yeah, sure. So going back to 2017, my background was mostly in GPU mining. I had a facility in Australia with a bit over 400 1070 Ti's. So we're mining Beam and Grin, which were privacy coins back in that period. That's like my general background of like how I got into crypto. And then more so like was quite involved in DeFi during the like 2020, 2021 period. After that, I sort of like took a break from crypto, didn't look at it too much after what happened with FTX and stuff. I'd say towards the start of Dolphin, maybe about 2 years ago, we were making the uncensored AI models, just releasing them on Hugging Face. This is before we met Venice, but we had in the back of our mind at the same time an idea to start a distributed inference network. The main reason behind that is we were making the models, posting them on Hugging Face, and the only people using them were local AI users who were running them by themselves on their own hardware, and no one was really hosting the models that we made, quite likely because of the fact that they were uncensored. People, I think the traditional AI hosting companies didn't really see the appeal in hosting them. And then fast forward a bit, maybe a year and a half ago, Venice started hosting Dolphin 72B, which was trained on the old Quen 2 from Alibaba. So that's quite a while ago, but that was like the first time a large like AI company hosted Dolphin. And a bit after that, they proposed to us the idea of making a co-branded model. So we started working on Mistral 24B, which is by a French AI lab. It's quite a good one to produce uncensored models on top of, because they don't have a lot of baked in alignment, and we can steer it a lot more than we can with other base models. And then we made that probably about a year and a half ago. So that was the first model we made with Venice. After that, we upgraded it twice. First time was just like a few performance improvements. Venice has a really large community of people like testing the models and providing feedback, so that was quite helpful. And these days on the newer models we make for them, before it goes public, it has to go through the alpha and beta testing stages within the Venice community. So yeah, it's quite helpful for us. And then most recently I think people found us by again updating that 24B model with vision, in the sense you can like upload images and it can bring that into the AI model's context. And also we upgraded the context size. So there's been like 3 releases we've had with them so far.
Interesting.
I think that's why a lot of people found us, because it was the default model on Venice for quite a long time, and then after they upgraded to GLM as the default model, which is a much larger, more intelligent model, it's been the default uncensored model.
Okay, really interesting stuff. So you started in 2017 mining privacy coins, and that kind of got your start in, with GPUs and with privacy, which kind of beautifully flowed into where you are today with Venice, or with Dolphin being an uncensored, privacy preserving LLM, right? Or AI lab, I guess I should say. So it's a beautiful start. We saw a lot of these crypto ethoses kind of flow into, I think, what Venice has today and some of their offerings. So really cool to see that kind of manifesting. Did you take those GPU miners that you were using back in 2017 and apply it to, what you're doing today with Dolphin? Did those kind of carry over?
Yeah,
The classic AI saved all the old ETH miners out there because of the GPUs, but yes.
Yeah, if you mean just the general idea of it, like quite heavily inspired. I don't have that hardware anymore. It was sold a long time ago, right at the start of 2020. And the lucky thing there was it was GPUs that people actually want to buy instead of like ASICs, because after we bought all the equipment, crypto kind of nuked at the end of 2017, and it took us a long time to actually set these up, and we had to upgrade the power at the facility, and that was a long drawn out process where they were just sitting there for a long time doing nothing. And to be honest, it wasn't that profitable, but we ran it for 3 years anyway, sold all the equipment. But I think I'm heavily inspired by GPU mining, since it's not really, it doesn't happen the same way it used to. Like back then there were so many coins you could mine at once, and I think when I saw what you can do with local AI, how you can run a really strong AI just on a single graphics card at home, the idea to make a distributed inference network seemed pretty obvious.
Interesting. And that perfectly puts you in position to, like, I guess, capitalize off this AI boom we saw 2 years ago. You guys were positioned for it. In your mind, what was coming, right? What are you thinking 2 years ago when no one's really building AI? It's not cool, like very niche, very early. What's going through your head talking about, okay, we need to build decentralized, uncensored models because people are going to want these. And like, by the way, privacy is going to be such a valuable asset in the future and people want to preserve that. Can you talk me through your thinking 2 years ago when you got into
and
this?
Also, how did you get your model default into Venice back then? Like, did you message Eric and be like, hey, we have a great model? Or did they look around and be like, this is value aligned, these are the only guys working on it?
Yeah, so that's a funny story. I sent a cold email to, I found one of Venice's emails online, and I sent an email just talking about Dolphin and suggesting it as something they should try out. At the time, they were hosting the Llama series as their default model, which is Facebook's open source model, which it is less censored than, say, ChatGPT or Claude. But, on a relative basis compared to what we had with Dolphin, it's like night and day. So I think they took around like two or 3 weeks to reply, but it basically got into like showing them Dolphin, letting them test it, letting their users test it. And then eventually, our first model got listed on their platform. That wasn't the default model. That was just like that. At the time, they had like lots of different models, sort of like obviously now they got like over 200, but at the time, I think they had like 10 or 20 models. So then Dolphin became one of the ones people could try. I assume people liked using it because it was the most uncensored model on the platform. And, after they proposed to make a model together and co-brand it, that is the one that became their default model after we
Luke,
released
how
it.
do you just define the most uncensored model? Like, what is that? I hear these uncensored models. I'm just trying to understand what contrast that with GPT 5.5.
Yeah. If you want to hear about how we benchmark it, we have a list of 5,000 commonly refused prompts across a wide variety of topics, and then we run a benchmark on every model that we produce, and we can also run it on the open source models for comparison. And you see how many of the prompts does it actually answer without saying, sorry, I can't help you with that. So if you look at ChatGPT or Gemini, on our benchmark, it will be anywhere between 5 to 15% of how many of those prompts it answers. And then on the opposite side, Dolphin answers 100% of them. That wasn't always the case. Some of the earlier Dolphins still had quite a lot of refusals baked into them. But, at this point now, we've got the formula honed down pretty well, and it basically doesn't refuse any request. And what Venice said at the time, we asked them, do you want it to answer everything? Is there anything you don't want it to answer? And their strategy was that they want the base model to be completely uncensored, and on the Venice layer above it, they will handle any censorship if it needs to take place. So that was how they were thinking about it. But they wanted the actual AI model that they're running on to be completely unrestricted. So just some examples. I would say the most popular use for uncensored AI models is character and role play usage. So you want to make a character, chat with them about all sorts of strange things that people might, want to do in their private time on their computer. And, I think that's the most popular use. And of course, ChatGPT would never engage with you on that. If you give them some sort of persona and say, I want you to role play this situation with me, it's probably not going to happen. So I would say that's most popular use case. There's also a bunch of other things people could use it for, some of them possibly illegal. Yeah.
So that brings up the interesting question, because this is always the conversation that comes into play when you're talking about these uncensored models is what about the illegal stuff? What about, when it prompts people to do not so great things? We've seen cases, I think in Canada, Josh has referenced before, of, I think, someone that killed themselves, and ultimately they said it's because the AI prompted to do so. Whether that's the truth or not, it is what it is. So this moral dilemma kind of comes up, and people like to ask, uncensored models are bad and they're harmful, and we actually think censorship is necessary to some extent. And of course, there's both sides to this. Curious to get your take on where you step in and your thoughts on that.
Yeah, I think there's a wide gap between the questions that ChatGPT or Claude will refuse to answer and what is morally bad. There's a large area in the middle, such as erotic role play or fiction writing. Even if you ask ChatGPT to write the storyline to Game of Thrones, it probably wouldn't even all the not perfectly suitable things that it would want to speak about in that plot. So there's a wide gap between what you would say is unethical or immoral, and then what ChatGPT and Claude actually allow. And there's so much stuff in the middle that most people, I'll say the average person, would be completely fine to have in existence. And of course, there's a line where everyone might draw the line at a different place. But I think the approach Venice is taking, because we don't actually handle this, but when we made the model for Venice, it's up to them where they draw that line. But I would say, you can run a classifier model at a higher level than the model we create, and that can, cut out certain requests if you don't want those to be happening on your platform. And I would say most people would probably just draw the line at what is illegal and not, or if they're more aggressive, maybe they might lower that a bit further and allow like fiction about illegal things, but not allowing it to talk about extremely harmful topics that most people would be against. I think it's up to the provider, what they allow and don't allow. And the task we have been given when we're creating those models is to create as unrestricted and steerable model as possible, and then they can build on top of it, however they see fit within their platform.
Got you. Don't want to get too far ahead of ourselves. So let's just kind of start back again 2 years ago, because it seems like you're doing a lot. The numbers really speak for themselves. So walk me back and think 2 years ago, you got this vision, got this idea. Let's kind of go through the lore and the history of how we got here today. And then from there, we can talk about some of the numbers that you're doing and I guess where things go from that point. So 2 years ago, what's going through that point to where we are today?
Yeah, two years ago, we were quite a small team of just 3 people. But at the time, we were making these, uncensored steerable models and just posting them on Hugging Face, which is an open source platform to download AI models from. So there wasn't much of a, business structure in mind. We had the idea to eventually like create our own, chat UI that people can subscribe to, or an API that people can like build on top of. But at that time, 2 years ago, we were mostly focused on just creating the models and getting the formula down pat. Some people in the audience might be familiar with obliterated models. That is a technique where you would send, say, 100 prompts to a model of commonly like censored topics, and you would see which weights on the model activate during those requests, and then you would manually like dampen those weights, which is a process you can do in a couple of hours. It's very, it's not very compute intensive. And we were playing around with that at the time as like a quick and easy way to uncensor the models. But what you would notice, and this is still a very popular technique, but you would like create the model, you'd see how uncensored it is. But once you've used it for like 100 or 200 prompts, you would have all these weird edge cases where the model will start looping text and just not making sense at all. So that is because those weights that you're manually editing also activate on normal requests. It's not like those weights just exist on the requests that it's refusing. So when you're like manually editing a model like that, you can sort of harm the performance of the model. And we were trying to come up with a technique that is, much better at preserving the intelligence of the model. And the whole vision we had is that, there's so many companies making great open source models, but why don't we strip out the censorship while keeping the benchmarks the same? Because then it's a very enticing thing if you can have the same model, as the base model, but without the refusals. There's not a lot of people who would want to use the base one instead of your version if you can achieve that. So we spent a lot of time experimenting, like at least a year, on different techniques to use on how to best change the alignment of a model without harming the benchmarks. At the current point in time, we've come to starting to use reinforcement learning as our main technique to decensor the model, which is something you would do over 1 to 2 weeks. It's a lot more expensive than obliteration, but the end result of the model will have like, equal or sometimes higher benchmark performance than the original that you started with. And I think that's a big reason why Venice chose our models over all these obliterated models, which there's at least 10 different like popular producers of those obliterated models. As far as I know, we're the only ones to do it through this method using reinforcement learning. And so going back to your question, 2 years ago, we were spending all our time on how we can best create the most like uncensored model possible. And then after we met Venice, a lot of our energy shifted into that relationship, because that even to this date, that they've been our biggest, like, you could say, like, customer or like, business partner. And that was a nice source of revenue for us. We at the time were almost running out of our seed funding, and earning the VVV for the models we created for Venice was quite nice to sustain our development. And we actually used a lot of that funding to then expand the team. We currently have 7 people on the team right now. And since maybe a year ago, we shifted most of our focus to distributed inference, because I think it's a much larger market than uncensored models. Even though we're still doing both at the same time, most of our teams work on the distributed inference network, and sometimes it's confusing for our audience. But the thing to note is that, like, we're actually leading the distributed inference network with Quen's coding model, which is the leading open source Chinese coding model. So even though we make our own Dolphin models, when I talk about the distributed inference network, if you saw, we had a beta online for about 6 weeks. We got almost 1,000 GPUs online. During that beta, that was all running this Qwen 35B model, which is about 85% as good as the new Opus in terms of like coding performance.
And
at a fraction of the cost.
The distributed inference network, is that to further the vision of having an uncensored model that then runs on an uncensorable network? Is that correct?
Well, that was the original vision, because we were making these uncensored Dolphin models and no one was hosting them. So we thought we should have our own inference network where people can have, host Dolphin for other people to use. And there's some like economic mechanism that incentivizes nodes to provide. Because at the time there were previous attempts at like community distributed inference networks. But the thing was, everyone wants to use it. No one wants to run a node because you don't earn anything. So wrapping a token around it was like the idea we had, but most of the focus has actually shifted to cost, like, because while you're having a distributed inference network that's repurposing all these like consumer GPUs just sitting idle doing nothing, you can price models at a much lower cost than centralized providers. So that's actually the current focus. So it's not actually really relating to the uncensored aspect anymore. Like, even in the beta, we only had Qwen, which is a censored model, but it's an extremely good coding model. And if you look at like inference demand, like 90% plus is for these coding models. Especially the Chinese open source coding models have really been growing in usage over the past 6 months. So we've had people say, you guys are doing too much stuff at the same time. It's confusing, but they're kind of two different areas.
And too much stuff is fine as long as you're pivoting to find product market fit, what works, and generating the most revenue, assuming this is not a nonprofit here. So maybe we talk through that a little bit. Maybe talk through the numbers, high level of the uncensored models that you guys provided, and then kind of talk about the numbers. And I guess size of market is also important for distributed inference that you're kind of pivoting, somewhat pivoting to, in a sense. Would love to kind of get the contrast between both of them and the numbers you're doing on both sides.
Yeah, sure. So in terms of the models we've created, if you look at our Hugging Face, we have just over 5 million monthly downloads. So that would all be local AI users who are downloading our models and running them on their own machines, which is quite a lot. It's a lot higher than it was a year ago. But
5 million
specifically
is amazing,
our most
Luke.
popular model.
Congrats.
Insane.
Yeah. Thank you. Our most popular model is a decensor of a Chinese open source model. And we took out both the CCP censorship and the refusals at the same time. And that's been our biggest, like, consistently downloaded model. I think a lot of Chinese, the Chinese like AI community like that.
They like their anime.
Because that's been at over 4 million downloads a month for at least 6 months.
Wow.
Incredible. Okay. So that's on the uncensored side. Now talk to us about the distributed inference side. And I guess to set the stage here, like, we have to understand the size of this market and the direction the ball is heading. How big is this going to be? How rapidly is it growing? and like where do you guys fit into the picture? I
Sorry,
think?
what I gotta ask a little question about the uncensored Chinese models. Is it harder to pull out the censorship out of a Chinese model versus an American model, or is it about the same?
Mm.
Yeah, in terms of, it depends which provider. So our most popular model, it wasn't that hard. I would say in contrast, the latest Qwen models, they put a lot of effort into the censorship. I think they've obviously been pressured to not have the model speaking things that aren't in line with the CCP party. So it is harder, but it is totally still doable, especially with our new method. We actually have a bunch of models lined up that we'll be releasing over the next few months, specifically mostly Chinese models. We're working on Qwen at the moment, and that's going to be hopefully out within about 2 months. We basically fully redid our pipeline for training so over the past 2 months. So our current method is a lot better, and it is not hard. We actually have a benchmark, part of our refusal benchmark, about 2,000 of those prompts CCP censorship tests, and then we only release the model once it's hitting the 100% or at least 99% plus acceptance rate on that benchmark. So it is hard, but I wouldn't say it's not impossible. It's definitely gotten harder over time compared to that model that's the most popular on Hugging Face is over a year old. So I'm surprised it's still so popular.
Could
Actually,
could the Chinese citizens get in trouble for this? I mean, we know Iran's doing a strong job censoring and shutting off Wi-Fi and connection, and VPNs are illegal there. We know obviously censorship is important in a lot of these countries. Could the Chinese citizens get in trouble for downloading these uncensored models and using them?
Yeah, we actually have a lot of first-hand experience with this because during our beta, we had about 1,000 GPUs in total join, and I would say over 50% of them would have been Chinese. Most of the people messaging us for support and asking questions were Chinese miners, and we were actually dealing with their proxy setups because Hugging Face is blocked in China, but they all use a proxy, and there's actually a mirror for downloading models in China. So it's still totally possible to download models from Hugging Face. They just have to go through a proxy, and I wouldn't say they would be getting in trouble for downloading these models because that's not specifically illegal at all. And then once it's on their machine, no one can actually see what they're doing because when you run a local AI, it's completely private. You're going fully within your machine. Everything's running on your GPU. It never goes out into the internet. So I would say unless they make open source models illegal, which they definitely haven't, given how many of these Chinese labs are releasing open source models. I mean, it's actually much higher rate than the West in terms of how many of the great open source models and where they're coming from. Most of them are out of China, as we all know. So unless they change their stance on that, I would say there's no issue for them. And the CCP can't see what they're actually talking about once they've downloaded it.
Got you. And so to kind of put a bow on this, because we have about 10 minutes, so I want to run through the rest of everything we want to cover today. To put a bow on this whole, uncensored model stuff, let me know if I've covered everything, right? We have 5 million monthly downloads for the last 4, 5, 6 months. You've seen these kind of numbers. You are partnered with Venice in a big way. They've created models with your technology in partnership, in tandem with you guys. You're the leading uncensored model provider on their platform. Started 2 years ago. You have funding, which I want to get into. Venice mainly helped you guys, I guess, grow that team and expand things on that side. Is there anything I didn't cover there that you want to put a bow on for the uncensored model part of this segment?
I'd say you covered everything really well. The most recent model we made for Venice is called Venice Uncensored Roleplay. So Venice has a platform called venice.ai/characters where you can create your own character, and they wanted a uncensored roleplay model where it is both uncensored but also really good at taking on the persona that the user gives their character. So that is the most recent model we made for them. It's currently live in the Venice UI. You can go try it now if you're a Venice subscriber, but we're still waiting to announce it probably next week. They only added it recently. So that's the most recent one, which was the fourth model we made for them, and we've started work on a fifth one, which will be a much larger model. Originally, Venice Uncensored was a 24B by Mistral, and Mistral recently released Mistral Medium, which is about 128 billion parameters. So it's going to be over 5 times the size as the last one. It'll be much more intelligent. It might take a while to develop, probably over a month, but that's what we're working on next on the uncensored model side.
And is this relationship with Venice, are you guys the only uncensored model provider on their platform, or you're just maybe the leading one?
Yeah, leading one. I think they've added one other, which was called Gemma. It was obliterated model based on the recent Gemma. So yeah, we're definitely like the leading or most popular one on there, and it was the default model for all Venice users for quite a while. But they have like hundreds of models at this point. I think they add anything that their community wants to use.
Okay. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. All right, cool. Well, then we got the that side of the business down. Now, I think what you're maybe more excited for and more focused on right now is this distributed inference idea. So talk to me. Where's the ball heading in terms of inference, in terms of distributed inference, and how are you guys positioning? How do you think that's going to do for the business in terms of revenue, economics? Talk me through it.
Yeah, I would say the most important thing to touch on with what we're going for with distributed inference is how much money people spend on Opus and the leading like frontier models, especially for tasks where you don't need them. If you have an agent, like 80% plus of the tasks that it might do can be completed by these open source models, which are a fraction of the cost. Just for numbers, Opus charges $25 per 1 million output tokens, and you can get Qwen 35B for $1, which is 25 times cheaper. That's the cheapest price on OpenRouter. And where we come into it is consumer GPUs such as the 4090, 3090, or 5090, like the type of GPUs a high-end gamer might have at home. They can, with one single GPU, run Qwen 35B or 27B. And the fact that the intelligence on benchmarks is 85% as good as Opus while being 25 times cheaper and running on a single consumer GPU is crazy. So the trend I see happening over the next 6 to 12 months is that people stop using Opus for everything, and instead they use Opus or Codex for the most complex tasks that they're doing, and then they route the bottom like 80% of requests to open source models. And you've already seen this happening on OpenRouter. They created a smart router where you can plug into the router for coding requests and it will handle that distribution for you. So the most complicated requests will go to the more intelligent models, and the easier requests will go to the cheap models. So, taking that out of the user's hands and automating it, I think that's a trend that we're going to see given how much people are spending right now. And they just don't really know anything else because they've just downloaded Claude Code or Codex. It's not like you can just plug in Qwen to that. But as people realize that you can get 85% of the performance and do the majority of your tasks on an open source model, without paying that 25 times price for Opus. I think it's a very obvious progression, and it just comes down to education. The way I see us having our biggest role is that since a single GPU can run these open source models, we can have a network where if we have 1,000 GPUs online all running an instance of 35B, we have a data center level of capacity on a distributed network, and people can route requests into our network. We use a peer-to-pool model, so specifically each model has a pool of GPUs. Any GPU can come in and out at any time. It's very, we're trying hard to make it very similar to how GPU mining was back in the day. And the reason I say that is if you look at AI DeepIn over the past 2 years, everyone tried to do GPU rentals where you put your GPU on the network and other people can rent it from you. But the problem with that is a gamer doesn't want to rent out their GPU because they want to spin up a game every few hours, and you can't offer your GPU for rental because on a one-to-one pairing system like a rental market, you have to have a fixed uptime. So the only GPUs those previous attempts really captured were data center GPUs. Whereas, given the like pooled nature of what we're doing, where the GPUs can come in and out of the pool, and while you're in the pool, you'll get a portion of the request based on your relative like performance compared to all the other GPUs. That lets us capture the market for idle gaming GPUs, and especially the newest generation, like the 5000 series by NVIDIA, and even the 4000 series. Literally every single one of those GPUs can run something. Even if you have a laptop with a 4050, you can run the best audio model by Qwen, which is 1.7B TTS. So there's a role for each GPU size. Like once you get up to the 4090 or 5090, you can run these like extremely intelligent like coding models such as Qwen 27 or 35B on our network. But then again, if you have a smaller model, you might be doing image or audio requests. And then we also capture the idle data center GPU market. Two of the largest subnets on BitTensor called Targon and Liam both have been discussing with us how they can mine with their idle GPUs. So they rent out GPUs, and a lot of the time they have an idle inventory that's literally just doing nothing. So it makes sense for even data centers to just run our inference software while their machines are idle and earn something. And then it's this type of thing you can turn off and on at any time without any uptime requirement.
I think this is the key here. Is anyone else doing this peer-to-pool model that you guys are kind of pioneering?
Not that I've seen, no.
Yeah, this is the crux of it, right? Because we've seen people, like you said, try to do these distributed networks where it is like one on, one off. You can buy specific GPUs or whatever. And like you said, if someone turns them off, if I want to use my computer to play games, I can't just, pull in and pull out and put into the network whenever I want. With this peer to pool, it's almost just, of the nature of these decentralized pools we see when we trade tokens today. It's the same thing except for inference, which I think is really fascinating. We got 5 minutes, so we got to do a little speed round here, Luke. But I want to talk through funding. You said, you got funding on in the early days. So clearly somebody saw the vision, and then Venice kind of helped you guys, I guess, expand that team and grow it further. And now I'm assuming revenue's great and you guys maybe aren't looking for any funding. But I don't want to just assume this. Can you walk me through the funding history of this company?
Yeah, sure. So about 2.5 years ago, we raised about 900,000. That was our seed round. That was mostly pre-product. We had some models on Hugging Face, but besides that, most of it was people trusting the vision. So, of course, very grateful that people trusted us before we'd actually developed the network. And then, we put that funding. Actually, in the early stages, we're spending most of it on the model development, and we're spending a lot in compute because it's very expensive to train these models. You have to constantly be renting out H100s. And more recently, we've been lucky in terms of like sponsorship from Targon and Liam that they've given us their GPUs, which has been very nice to not have to spend as much on compute costs to train models. But that was like what got us started in the early days, and we wouldn't be here without that. And then from Venice, we've across the 4 models that we've made, we've earned 40K VVV.
Okay. 40K VVV. VVV is trading at like $9 something right now, I believe, unless I'm.
That's 17.
Yeah.
It's at 17. Jeez.
17.
Yeah.
Okay.
let me just stop. Very, very nice. Okay. So good funding. Can you talk me through some of the token and how this works? From what I've heard is the token basically receives all economics of the company. Maybe I'm wrong about that, but it seems pretty insane. If you guys raise 900K, you've made 40,000 Venice so far, and you're, 5 million a month. Like, it just seems like your numbers are off the charts here. Am I correct about in my understanding that the token kind of receives all the economics? Is there an equity side to the company and a token side to the company, or is it?
It's very intentional to only have a token. I'm quite familiar with what's happened with, just say, for example, Aave DAO versus Labs, the Labs company, taking 50 million of the revenue and not giving it to token holders. Like, I think the community obviously hates that. It's telling that Morpho is now double the valuation of Aave when people used to look at Aave as the leading DeFi lending protocol. So it was obvious to us where we saw the industry going. At the start, we actually had a thought to have the split equity structure doing the Dolphin subscriptions for our models and then the token for the distributed network. But we decided to do everything under the token. Once we realized that if you have one asset capturing all the value, that will be worth more than two different assets combined. I think that's a thing people should pay a lot more attention to, because you see these tokens and these big businesses where, you know, it's an awesome business, but all the money goes to the equity holders,
Right.
and the token is just like a, you know, utility token. It's not that valuable.
We align 100% with that vision. I think what a lot of people are trying to grasp now is, okay, we see the numbers on the surface level, but like, is there somewhere to track the revenue flows? You know, I'm assuming this is in the form of buybacks you're doing, value accrual to the token. You know, can you give us some more insights on just the revenues and how people should value this token? Obviously, it's a growth investment, so there should be some growth factor in there, but just help me get a better understanding there, please.
Yeah, sure. So unfortunately for the Hugging Face downloads, we have 5 million downloads per month, but that's open source, so we don't earn anything for that. But that's, you know, us putting the model out there and people downloading it to run locally. In terms of the distributed inference network, we only just launched that about 7 weeks ago. We ran a beta, which we called version 1, for 6 weeks, where that was the supply side test, where we got as many GPUs as we could online. The peak was 600 at once, mostly RTX 6000 Pros. And we're doing about 3.5 billion tokens a day in requests. But those requests were seeded by synthetic data generation, which is like us sending them coding prompts to solve. So that's a way to, you know, stress test our network design, and more specifically the routing. Like, how do you manage this like large inventory you have online? We took that down about 4 days ago. We're spending the next 2 weeks working on version 2, which will have a bunch of upgrades, like most notably remote updates. So instead of, you know, having to tell people, hey, you know, we're taking your node offline, upgrade to version 2, now we'll be able to push updates to them from our, you know, server side, and not have to have any user input on updates. Because we were like running into all these issues along the way, especially with the Chinese internet connections, like how to get around the proxy. And we were handling all that troubleshooting on our routing side, but also being able to push updates directly to workers will be a massive improvement, and also just general like improvements in the routing. So that's what we call version 2. That will be launching in 2 weeks. We'll be seeding that with data generation again to try get as many GPUs online as possible. And say once we have maybe 2,000 GPUs online, which should be double what we did last time, then we plan to open up a free API for Qwen 27 and 35B. So this will be like the first 1 to 2 months of the network, you know, growing the node supply, getting the requests coming in, stress testing it, and demonstrating that it works at scale. And after that, we'll slowly raise the price. Just for some economics, we were paying nodes 50 cents per 1 million tokens for Qwen 35B, and the cheapest price on OpenRouter right now is $1. So we were paying half the price of OpenRouter. The reason this works is because we're targeting GPU owners who aren't using their GPU right now as our suppliers. So we actually pay at a level of emissions that is below the rental price for that GPU. And, you know, we target the GPU owner market of people who aren't using it right now. For example, gamers probably only use their GPU 4 hours a day. They got 20 hours where it's literally doing nothing. They can run a model like Qwen 27B on our network and earn some tokens for that contribution. And that this is like the big edge we have over centralized inference providers that have to rent or purchase their GPUs from enterprise data centers. And specifically, you might think, oh, like a lot of this edge is in consumer GPUs. Why can't these centralized providers do that? The biggest reason is that NVIDIA doesn't let you purchase consumer GPUs if you're a data center. And if you go around their back, you get blacklisted. And there's also a bunch of other things they do, such as like since the 3090, they haven't had peer-to-peer communication between GPUs. They put the power cables on the top instead of the side, which makes it harder to stack in a data center machine. And NVIDIA doesn't want people using consumer GPUs. And everyone we talk to, you have to like convey the unintuitive part where consumer GPUs actually have a cheaper price per token than enterprise GPUs. And
I actually didn't even know that.
Yeah. it goes against your ideas of like economies of scale. But for these like, if you have a model that fits on a single GPU, which like the cool thing about the past 6 months, now that Quen's releasing these extremely dense, intelligent models, you can run a model that's 80% plus as good as Opus just on your one graphics card. And that is a much cheaper price per token than renting an enterprise GPU for like, almost $2 an hour.
It definitely seems like directionally this is where we're headed. I mean, we see the talks about these massively VC subsidized, for the leading AI labs, the VC subsidization for Claude and Codex is just so massive. Like it's obviously got to reroute or come down at some point, despite prices just continuing to go up. So people are going to have to resort to, something like this. And I think it's very fascinating. Luke, we got to get you back on when I think this really gets spun up and going and your vision starts coming to life, because we'd be really interested to see where that goes. It seems like you have a lot of support from not only Venice, but Jesse Polak and the base team, from the Tensor team as well. So I think you have the right people in your corner, and we are glad to be hopefully on the right side of history here and having this conversation with you. So we appreciate it, Luke.
Thank you very much for your
Thanks,
time.
Luke.
And V2 should be live in about 2 weeks. So happy to jump back on once it's live.
Thanks for supporting the North American time zone. We apologize,
problem.
but we're
I stay up
US
pretty late.
hours trading. So yeah.
You'll have 2 more meetings tonight.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, that's probably rough for you on all the way over there. Most of your people you're working with are probably in different time zones. So
Yeah. Most of our teams in the US or Canada.
Jeez.
Okay. Cool.
And just real quick, I'm not sure if you're familiar with the Pearl network, but this has been gaining some traction recently, and it's I don't know all the details to it, but they're using GPUs, data centers, etc. to instead of proof of work, it's productive proof of work, basically, or whatever it might be. And so they're using some of these models that are already solving that mathematical equations for compute to mine Pearl as well. Have you looked into the Pearl network? Just curious. Top Lumber has a question.
Yeah, I've looked into it. I would say like the idea is pretty cool, like having a L1, generating its security from inference instead of proof of work, because that's something that's productive and people could actually use the inference on the network. In terms of what we're doing as a comparison, we're running like this inference protocol on top of Base and Ethereum. So we didn't feel the need to run our own L1. We can get the economic security from the Ethereum, proof of stake. And instead we run like our own protocol on top of that. And we use our token to, give emissions to nodes. And then, which the question I didn't answer before is 100% of the revenue we generate from inference goes into buying back the token. And then on the other side, tokens earn emissions for the inference work. So it's what Pearl's doing is quite different to us, whereas like they're trying to do a L1. It's a completely different thing, but I think from what I've heard, it's a very smart team. So it's worth keeping an eye on.
I think even the question was more so like, would you guys ever integrate with Pearl and use some of these distributed networks to go and also mine Pearl while they're doing their thing already, to kind of maybe give something to back to your users where, hey, you're already using us, but just on top of that, here's a little rebate of some Pearl tokens. Is that something you thought about?
Yeah. Well, I guess if I'll need to look into it more, but if we have our miners running inference and Pearl generates the security from inference computation, we could attach that into our worker and have like a dual mining system. We'll just have to see how much that impacts inference performance. In terms of like, is there an overhead that reduces how many inference requests you can process at once? That's to be seen. It's definitely worth looking into. I also heard a similar thing about Nock.
Right, which is on Base.
They're also trying to do the same thing. Yeah.
All right. Very cool, Luke. We got to run. Appreciate you. I feel like we could just sit here and chop it up for hours on all the different nuances there are with AI and uncensored models and, whatever it might be. But we're at time today, and we appreciate Loaf here in the waiting room, being so patient. So thanks, Luke. We'll talk to you soon.
Thank you. Bye.
All right, brother. Peace. All right. That was Dolphin. Very interesting. I think it's very clear they raised $900K pre-product 2 years ago. So whatever that valuation is going to be, assuming they sold like 10%.
I love the story of just like running out of cash, and then Venice comes along and just takes off.
Yeah. It's a very nice story. I think Luke is a very smart guy. He's got his head on his shoulders, screwed on pretty tight. I guess the question, and I didn't get to it just because we were at time, and I want to respect Loaf, is like, what does the emissions look like? We know the token's trading at 9 million. Fully diluted is more like 100 million. We know they're using some emissions to reward providers. So, are they burning more than they're emitting? Is always like the big question, right? Can you go from inflationary to deflationary? So, that's the one unanswered question. We'll have to get clarity on that at some point. But without further ado, man, we can't keep him waiting for much longer.
Yeah.
The man of the hour. Now, it's important I brief this, right? Because we have Loaf coming up, who's come on the show before with Daydreams. We know X402 is a hot narrative. Recently won the 11th out of 12 or whatever. One of the last Pump Fun hackathon slots, right? So 250K to the bank. We're going to see where they're going next with that. Obviously, we've had some great reception with the Pump Fun Hackathon winners, with the ace round. We're going to see what we can squeeze out of Loaf today. Up late, Loaf, we appreciate you staying up for us. It means the world.
Hey boys, how are we doing today?
Doing good. Were you getting comfy in the bed here?
I am I'm comfy on my sofa. I'm not normally a night owl because I have young kids. But I'm happy to stay up late for you guys.
We'll keep it focused here.
We'll keep it focused. We caught you the last time we had you on. It was the complete opposite. It was like really early morning. Now it's really late night for you. So
I was thinking of going for like a night walk, but it's freezing, so I'm gonna stay cozy.
All right. Well, we got a lot to update on. For those that are new, and there's certainly going to be new people here, especially after the Pump Fun Hackathon win. Can you talk us through a bit about yourself, and then just jump straight into Daydreams and what you guys are building over there?
Yeah, sure. So I mean, I've been an engineer for a long time. I've been decade or more, and I've been working full time in the crypto space since 2020, 2019. I spent a bit of time fooling around with DeFi. Spent a lot of time fooling around with fully on-chain gaming. And the last 3 years have kind of been really focused on agents and building kind of everything around that, everything in that space, not necessarily just in crypto, but just in AI in general. And Daydreams kind of emerged off the back of the kind of agent scene, 18 months ago, when I was attempting to build like long context horizon agents, which is basically what Claude and Codex have become now, and what kind of the frontier of agent, kind of what we're all doing now with like the goal in Codex, or workflows in Claude, and there's lots of other ways you can do it in lots of other coding agents. And so that was kind of my focus about 18 months ago. But about halfway through last year, we kind of decided to pivot into agentic commerce as X402 emerged, and we decided to merge some of our kind of expertise around the kind of agent world and the commerce space. So in the last 6 months, we've kind of in the last 18 months, we've kind of done a lot of different things in the agentic commerce space. So we were one of the first people to build like an X402 router. We've done a bunch on kind of SDKs around building agents using A004 and X402 and a bunch of other protocols. And in the last 6 months, our focus has been on what we call the task market, which is what we're going to talk about today, which is our kind of the product that we've just literally about to ship imminently, and it's actually task market version 2. And so what is the task market? And this is what we're going to talk about today.
Now before we even jump into that, so I just want to kind of set the stage here. So
sure.
you started off in this agentic space about a year and a half ago. From there, it kind of led you to the realization that agents are going to be very prominent. They're going to be making a lot of payments, and X402 is how they're going to do that. So you went and built that facilitator out that I think we really at MCG know you for, from the OG days. And then now you're saying, well, with this progression of the agentic world, we're kind of going to talk more about this, task. What do you call it? Task
market. Yeah. Well, I mean, just on those like other kind of infra parts, I think this is kind of a general kind of theme around in the AI space. It's like, I'm trying to find like a unique wedge that has defensibility that isn't just a pure infra play that's, going to get eaten up by a large player. And I think there's a lot of risk, kind of going down the path of just trying to create something that is, an existing product plus agentic commerce or something plus X402. And, ultimately some of the very few moats you have left are, distribution, data, and taste. And so, it's very difficult to go head to head unless you have gigantic resources, trying to create like an AWS, but with, X402 or something, or like a Open Router with X402. Like it's a very difficult thing unless you have like a unique wedge around it. Maybe it's Deepin or something, like the Dolphin guys do. And so, what we've kind of had our heads down and trying to work on is like, well, where do we see like, what's something we can make that, and that we believe, is where the AI market is going next. And I can dive into this if you like right now. And so
yeah, well, so I think you said three things that are really important. You said the crux here is like distro, data, and taste, and maybe you talk about that here in this article. And so you've come to this conclusion that the task market is impressive. I want to just, before I preface this, did you win the hackathon? And you had a conversation with Pump Fun. I'm wondering if they were more interested in this, the future vision of this task market, or more like the X402 side, or what that conversation looked like.
Well, I think X402 is interesting, but ultimately it's like, I mean, how many of like the web protocols do you guys know? Like web like like, do you know like what 503 is or 401? Like ultimately like 402 is like this kind of internet native protocol layer that like no one really cares about in a couple of years. It will exist, and whether it's MPP come out by the Tempo guys, which uses the 402 standard, but it's a different type of making a payment through the internet, through the browser, or through the internet standards. So it's a very much like this kind of like base layer that like ultimately would just get absorbed by everybody, and everybody will be using it. And so by itself, I think often it's us in the crypto world, we get excited by these new protocol standards, but ultimately there's 7 billion people in the world, and 99.99% of them don't care about X402, right? They want a good product that works, and they want good value out of that product. And so
it's a bit of the thesis here that, I mean, of course, like no one really cares about the underlying infrastructure. They just want it to work, like you mentioned.
Exactly.
Is the thesis here that agents are going to always kind of route to the most economically viable thing? And so like naturally the progression is just like X402 is going to succeed, and it's going to be the cheapest or fastest, or some variation of both. That's like the most economically viable, and it's just going to work on the back end.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, and also like, if you go into Claude right now, like anyone goes into Claude, Claude Code or Codex, and be like, can you go and like pay for something with an agentic, payment protocol? It'll probably just go and write code to just go and execute it by itself. Like it's like, if you know what I mean, like it'll kind of solve the problem. It'll find the path of least resistance to get there now. No one serious really writes code anymore. They it's just the agents have gotten so good at writing these things.
Right.
And they're going to continue to get significantly better over the next 12 months, 24 months until, it's just, you have to take the point of view that things are getting smarter and cheaper. And that's just what's going to happen.
So I guess kind of goes back before we jump into this task market stuff, is this Pump Fun hackathon that you won, by the way, huge congratulations, 250K Pump Fun hackathon winners. Squeeze it in there at the end. So I'm sure that was an exciting, kind of dub there. They must have been talking to you before. Maybe they weren't. But if they were talking to you, did you talk about, hey, like X402 is kind of our past. We're maybe pivoting a bit, which is another question for you. Are you guys really pivoting away from that completely and focusing fully on task markets or not? But I guess my question is still like, did Pump Fun, are they most excited about the task markets or about the X402 and kind of the past work you guys have done?
Yeah, I mean, we've been talking to Pump for ages, so that was a long conversation, and we were, it wasn't something that just popped up. It's something that we've been talking to them for a long time about. And it's the thing with X402 is that like the task market product that we're just about to ship like has X402 in it, right? But it's just not like a kind of like a root level or infrastructure part. It's like it's a full consumer product that uses X402. But it also uses 8004, and it uses our other ERC protocol designs to all wrapped up into like this consumer product. And so we're using everything, but under the hood. But it's not like you don't see it in the product. It's just it's hidden, but we're still leveraging it.
Makes complete sense. Okay,
Yeah.
so without further ado, task market, your main focus right now. What's the TLDR? Give us the overview, the idea here, thesis.
Yeah. So yeah. I mean, I wrote an article back in December about the task market. It's on my X. People can go and read it. But you know, where I see like what everyone's doing right now, and what everyone has kind of started to discover since the beginning of the year is that like, well, you can run Claude and you can run Codex and you can run Hermes and you can run OpenClaw or whatever agent you're running, and they're incredibly powerful and they can be incredibly economically useful to you personally if you use them correctly. And you know, this is why, you know, the entire AI market and the entire economy is about to go parabolic. It has gone parabolic. But you know, but a lot of the work that agents do are still localized to you, right? So like they're personalized to you. Like, you know, I have my, you know, agent that goes and does, you know, some of my economics things or some of my accounting or does my coding, does my graphic design, does, you know, does whatever. But these are like localized still on my machine. But like where I think we're going is like, well, I want to be able to monetize my agent with my taste, with my expertise, and with my, you know, idiosyncrasies, and put it on the market and let it do work for me for other people. And so this is kind of the missing piece in this kind of, you know, in the world right now. It's like, you know, people are going to become deprecated by jobs, by agents, sorry, sooner or later. But they're not necessarily getting replaced like directly by agents. They're getting just replaced by humans using agents, right? So it's like, so let's say I am a, you know, an expert graphic designer, and you know, I have beautiful taste. You know, I've designed for, you know, a whole bunch of different clients. People love my work. Well, what I can do now is I will, you know, I'll go and get a Hermes agent. I will put my body of work inside of Hermes, inside of the Hermes context. And so I'll put on my like logo designs, I'll put on my like web designs or whatever in there. And then I can tell my Hermes agent to go and look for tasks on the task market around graphic design. And when a graphic design task comes up, my Hermes agent can go and do the work, and it can basically generate designs for that task based on my taste. And so it's basically me, but it's going to do work on the free market as the agent, representing me and earning income for me. And so this is really the kind of idea that we're trying to get to with the task market, is that we've designed that marketplace that allows people to monetize their agents and sell their work on this market. And it's and so that there's two sides of this task market. There is the agent side that's doing the work, and then there's also the people requesting the jobs to be done and the tasks to be done. And so you know, a good example, I kind of like half explained it, but like a good example, let's say you are somebody that wants a, you know, a poster design done or a logo done or like a short video done for your product. You know, you can go and try to do that yourself, and maybe you're good at it, but you're probably not, because actually not that many people have great taste around design. And so you want to hire a designer. Well, I can't spend $5,000 on a designer, but maybe that designer actually has an agent, you know, that's looking at the task market and is willing to do the task. And so I put up my task for the video or the logo or the design, and all these agents on the market can see that task that's available, and they can try to attempt that task. And then I can then sift through all the different agent submissions and pick the one that I like. And so that's you know, that's where we're aiming for.
These agents, I'm assuming the creator of the agent is part of the beneficiary who receives some of the economic flow. You know, say you do decide to go with an agent, you pay $10, maybe the creator gets $5. I think I understand the idea here. Maybe I'm a guy, I really like Banksy's art, and I want MCG to be, you know, a Banksy theme, Banksy style kind of MCG, work on a new logo or whatever. I can go put up this hit, this auction, I guess you could say, for, hey, create me a Banksy styled MCG logo with a gem and blah, blah, blah. And I now can pick from 10, 20, 30, 40, 100 different agents. And whichever
Mhm.
one has the best outputs, I can end up going and purchasing that. That's
Exactly.
kind of the
Yeah,
understanding
no,
there.
100%. That's exactly it. And so, but okay, so that's it in a nutshell. But like, just let's take a step back and think about what's actually happened there. Is that you've gone on to this market, and it's this free market, so it's driven by efficiency and cost. And so you've gone on there, you've put up your task, which is like the Banksy logo, and there's 100 agents that have opted to do that work or to try to get that job for you. And so there's been 100 agents that have spun up, 100 100 GPUs or 100 workers that have spun up to try to do that job. Now that's like an insane amount of compute doing the job for you in that short period of time. So that might take like a minute because like to come back, but you've had 100 submissions in a minute. So it's significantly more efficient than trying to do it yourself in any case. Which is really interesting part of it all is that this is like almost like DePIN, so it's almost like decentralized infrastructure, but it's not. It's just kind of this economic layer sitting on the market, but it allows like this kind of distributed network of agents to try to do the tasks that you're trying to do, that you want done.
This is interesting. We've seen stuff on
Mm.
the show, for example, Repo, when we've had on the show a couple times, where AI labs or single entities, whatever, will come and put up a hit, and they have this really interesting mechanism where industry experts can come in and provide feedback, data, answers to these problems, solutions to these problems, and then there's a network that they can, there's a decentralized network where people can slash answers based on if they're bad or if they're good, and then you can get paid for your expertise. I thought that was really interesting. How does this kind of
Yeah.
compare or contrast to maybe people putting up specific hits and having
Yeah.
these experts come and of course all
Yeah.
this data is used to train models rather than like solve the task, if that makes sense.
Yeah. So I mean, there's a lot of different layers. I mean, we really only just touched on kind of like the two side, the buyer and the seller there. But there's actually a third part, which will come. It's not going to come in the initial release because, but the protocol's set up for this, which is, let's expand your example and be like, maybe you get 1,000 submissions from agents. And you're like, well, I don't want to submit through 1,000 submissions for my specific task, but maybe I can hire an agent that's like a specific verification agent to actually sift through those submissions, so it only picks the top 100 for me. And so this is like this verification layer that comes in as well, but it's not a human. It's actually a human that's trained the verification agent as well. And so this is like the third part of the market, which is this like verification agents layer. And so it's the verification agent's job to kind of be hired by a client to verify, the top 100 submissions out of the 1,000. And so, it's a similar concept there. But and so like, in theory, if you expand this market out, the agents will get better at their job because they're only going to bid on jobs that they're going to potentially win, and they're going to keep getting better at those jobs because they're going to learn over time, and the costs will come down over time as well because it's a market that's driven by efficiency. And so as this market goes on, things will get cheaper and things will get just high quality will come from it.
I think the thesis makes a lot of sense. I mean, I don't think someone will listen to this and necessarily disagree with it. I think the question from there becomes, how would you guys position? How do the economics flow back to Dreams, the token, and how can people kind of be positioned for the shared upside of this?
Yeah, so we've actually, so the protocol's running on Base. It's actually so we've actually released our own ERC. So it's 8194 ERC 8194, which is called the 8195, which is called the Task Market Protocol, and it actually defines how you can submit tasks and complete tasks permissionlessly through these smart contracts. And inside of that protocol, we also have a bunch of hooks. And so hooks are kind of like UDV4 style hooks, which allow you to kind of like plug in to the task lifecycle. And so when you do that, you can kind of build, you know, like an economic layer inside the protocol. So what we're planning on doing is, you know, we're going to be having incentives and structures using those hooks with the token itself. I'm not going to explicitly say what they're going to be, but we will be, if you go and look at the protocol layer, you'll be able to see, you know, where hooks can exist and, you know, how they can hook into the market. And so this also helps for like partnerships and so forth when we team up with people and, you know, other people building on top of the protocol itself. So.
Okay, one last thing on this. Let's say I do have a task, right? Like a task, summarize quarterly report, translate docs to Spanish, whatever. I have these tasks. I put out this bounty. What does this mean for privacy? These agents are obviously all kind of knowing your prompt and what they're working on. Do they get to keep the outputs even if you don't bid them or accept them? You know, is your stuff all over the internet? Is there some sort of like zero knowledge proof?
There's actually private submissions and public submissions. So some things will be public, some things will be private, depending on your choice. So you could I wouldn't say that yeah, I mean, like where we kind of are with agents, there's like there's definitely some like tasks that you're not going to be doing with the task market right now. But I think there's a lot of tasks that have like easy verification that you're not too worried about, like, you know, leaking, you know, your like key financial data. And like you probably wouldn't leak key financial data to OpenAI directly anyway. Well, I mean, enterprise would, or any like company wouldn't, that has, you know, privacy, reasons not to. So, but yeah, so the protocol has like an encryption to it as well, where you can, it can be encrypted to solve that problem. But yeah, so the kind of like the initial tasks that I see, you know, having real economic value here is like things that are like easily verifiable by a human, because I think there is this kind of a tendency to like try to create like fully autonomous kind of protocols where it's just agents and agents talking with one another. But my experience, and, you know, is like the further you get away from an agent, like the sloppier it becomes, and like the kind of the least, like, you know, it becomes less useful. Like you want to like let an agent run like hard, but like you don't want to just let it run hard for like weeks on end, because like there's still, you know, recursive machines, you know, they're still just next token prediction machines that are just getting very good at it. And so you still need that level of guidance. And so, you know, where I see like true value and like real economic value coming from this is like, it's you know, human to agent to human economics. So what I mean by that is like a human's training the agent and the agent's doing the work for another human. It's not like, you know, an agent creating a task for another agent, creating a task for another agent. It's not like this kind of purely autonomous loop. It's like a human agent to human level economics here. But you know, our kind of our you know, our vision here is like what we're about to release is like very it's still quite tech heavy, but we're planning on, you know, taking this protocol layer on all this like infrastructure that we've built and trying to create like very consumer level markets around this that have very little kind of crypto kind of in the middle. And under the hood, it's using the protocol layer, it's using the token, it's using all this stuff. But like when someone goes to use this kind of like consumer product, you know, they're just saying like, okay, oh, this is giving me crazy value. Like this is the fastest way I can make, you know, 100 logos of the you know, that I want, or the 100 videos that I want.
Right.
And they just see the outputs, but they don't see any of like this kind of X402 or 8004, any of this stuff. But under the hood, it's all the agents doing that, you know, and it's, you know, kind of like the, you know, the core agent designers are understanding all that, but like at the top level. And I think this is important because, you know, if you look at actually the market for crypto and compared to AI, like there's 40 million people that use crypto weekly, and there's, you know, it's 1.5 billion people that use AI weekly. So I think it's important that like, you know, everyone kind of understands that, and like we try to create products that like don't have any of this terminology in them, but actually drive like significant value to a consumer.
Yeah. Let's pivot here and talk about this hackathon win. 250K, you guys won in the Pump Fund
Yeah.
hackathon. Very successful. We've seen Pump Fund select really good projects, I think. So you're amongst a nice cohort here, and I think that's something to be proud of. Talk to me kind of what happens here, right? You have 250K. Does this go towards hiring out more engineers? Does this go towards scaling infrastructure? What is the use of this 250K?
Yeah, this will be go to operations, and I'm not sure we're going to be building out a team significantly more than where we are. The product, we're going to be using this for the go-to-market strategy. So yeah.
Okay. Well then, okay. Before we talk about go-to-market and TAM and all that stuff, I want to talk about ACE. Right, that's been a big conversation. We've had pretty much maybe every Pump Fund hackathon winner on at this point, and ACE seems to be coming up every single time. The ones that have incorporated have done very well. I think people love the ACE concept so far. I look at Dreams and I think, man, this is more of a network token rather than like an equity token. Maybe touch on that. How are you guys looking at ACE? Are you looking at doing this, this structure where you can exchange tokens for safe agreements, and that kind of gives some additional value to the Daydreams or the Dreams token? What's your thinking on this?
Yeah, look, it's at this point in time, it's not, where we've considered it and we're still thinking about it. But yeah, it's not our core focus to run that right now. Our core focus is to ship this product and get real people using it.
And then how should people think about the token then? If it's not, maybe ACE is not top of mind, you'll do whatever,
Yeah.
you're still thinking on it, but how should people think about the token?
Yeah, and as I said before, with maybe I didn't maybe I got a little caught in the weeds when I was explaining it, but the token will play a part in, like, it will play a direct role in the task market. I'm not going to give absolute specifics, but like, there's going to be whenever there's a task posted, there's a fee associated with that. So like, the protocol itself takes a fee on the cost of the task, and then that fee will flow into is obviously revenue for the protocol, but also at that point, there's other things that can be done. So it, like, the token will play a key role. I can't really specifically say stuff right now, but like
so the token will have some network effects, I think.
Exactly. Then, like, I think it's key. Like, our goal, like, we're trying to create a network here, and we see that as like our key, as like a key moat and a key defensibility thing. And so, tokens are great for bootstrapping networks and driving the network effect, which is exactly what we're going to use it for. So we haven't obviously used it for that in the past because when we do, we hadn't really had a product that made sense to do that in that case. But the task market is really its own protocol layer and makes a lot of sense to kind of use the token to bootstrap that network.
Well, we got just a few more minutes here. You mentioned, a lot of that 250K is going to be used for the GDM strategies and going to market here. Before we talk about the go-to-market strategies, I think we need to understand the market, though. Can you talk me through the TAM? What is the total addressable market here? How much of that are you looking to capture, et cetera?
Yeah. I mean, just think about the TAM for tasks right now. Like, as I said before, like, look at the adoption of agents across all business right now. Everybody is using these things. Everybody's completing tasks for them. And so, the next logical step is, well, people monetizing agents and then being able to more efficiently solve the tasks. And so, the TAM is absolutely massive for tasks. Like, it's the significant chunks of the entire economy it will be driven by agents completing tasks. So,
look, we already see things like TaskRabbit are popular, where people just, if they want their laundry done, they can TaskRabbit it and have someone come and do their laundry. Or if they want little things done, like, there is a task market already existing.
Yeah, it's just it's the labor market, right? Like, that's all it is. It's the whole world labor market. It will be done with agents. I talk to people all the time. Like, if you if you zoom out like 24 months, like the future of work is all done through Codex and Claude. Like everything that a worker will do will be through an agent. Like there's no UIs, there's no clicking through things. It's natural language, it's optimization of your agent with the context of your work.
Yeah.
And but with that comes the ability for more efficiency. And this is what I touch on in the article, is that like we're kind of at this point where everything is still siloed within organizations, but like a lot of tasks that are done within organizations are the same thing, right? It's still finance tasks, it's still operations tasks, it's still ERPs, it's still reviews or whatever it is. Like it's all similar, right? And so a lot of these tasks will collapse into agent-driven tasks, and then those agent-driven tasks can be optimized on like market layers, like the task market. So, our target is like we're going to try and look for market wedges where the task market can drive immediate value for users, which is like I think some of the initial things is like a lot in design, a lot in video. I mean, I don't know about you guys, but like I suck at generating AI videos. Like it's really hard to do well. Like everyone can go and try to do it because like the tools are there, and like it's not that expensive. Like I mean, but like it takes a lot of time. It's really actually hard to do, and then like most people are terrible directors, so they create crappy things. But like and so like being people, someone in Vietnam, or someone in Africa, or someone in America, or someone in South Africa, South America, is like they're experts at video, AI video, and they can put that expertise inside of an agent, and then the agent can go and accomplish 100 times the amount of labor they could on the task market. And so that's what I think that's what the vision here is like, how do we unlock those people in this global market, in this global kind of labor layer?
Got you. So what does that mean for the go-to-market here? I mean, we get it. Like the total addressable market here is like the entire task market as we know it, and you laid out a good case for that. A lot.
Yeah.
So how do you corner this thing? It's a big market.
So I mean, that's a good question, and as I said before, I touched on about like most people have no interest in X402. Like I don't see the overwhelming user as crypto native people. Like I want the overwhelming users of the task market like is all the people using agents. They're just the crypto protocols give something that aren't possible, and that's what makes it great. But like, and so I think we're trying to drive like some of these initial wedges. So as I said, like design, video, some of these things that like immediately verifiable by a human. So it's like, if you're, with your Banksy logo design, what you like. And so like, if you get 100 submissions, you'll be able to verify which one you want, and you'll be able to, pay the agent directly. And so that's where we see like the initial wedge in. And then, as agents get better and like kind of economics get cheaper and cheaper, the kind of what is possible with the protocol expands. And so, there will be, maybe there'll be more financial style tasks that can be done, in 6 months. And once like Opus level is at the kind of open source level, and it is cheaper, and there's like security around it. So,
gotcha.
So yeah.
Well, I think we pretty much covered everything. I mean, just leave us with a closing thought here. As we wrap up, we got like a minute. So, what's the roadmap looking like? What should people following the project be excited for? Something they can sink their teeth in here.
Yeah. So we've like purposely been quite quiet the last couple of months. We kind of just like took a step back and have really been focused on this singular product, and really wanted to hit the market, hard with it. So we're actually like we're imminently launching this thing. I'm actually looking at the product right now, and so we're kind of in the final smoke testing of it all. And so,
want to screen share it, or is that too much of a leak?
Maybe I'll post a screenshot of it.
There we go.
But yeah, I'm looking at the mainnet driven product right now. But we just, we're doing the final kind of polishing of it, and we will ship it. We got some internal testers on it right now. We're gonna put a bunch of liquidity on it and whatnot. Yeah, so the product is imminently shipping.
Love it.
And so that is the roadmap. And then we're going to be pushing hard on some of these kind of like these key verticals like design and videos and some of these immediately verifiable type tasks.
Okay, now in real time, I have to get your take on this because in real time, as we're wrapping up our interview with you, Pump Fund made a post about literally exactly what we're talking about here. Introducing Pump Fund Go. Let's see. Introducing Pump Fund Go. Pay anyone to do anything. Create and complete bounties for any task and leverage the power of humans and money across. Oh, this looks like it's more so for humans. Do you have any idea what this is about?
I haven't heard of it. Yeah, I think it's difficult to. Yeah, I mean, I haven't heard, but you know, like if you look at the market broadly right now, like you can see this idea of task markets like kind of forming everywhere. Like, you know, Maltbook was one, the Hire a Human was one. You know, there's other products, there's other projects like kind of in this kind of direction of like, you know, decomposing things into like specific little tasks that agents or humans can do. And so, you know, this is not like, I think the task market idea is like massive. And, you know, we've tried to distill that into a very.
Oh, this is around like stunts and stuff around meme coin communities. This is actually really interesting, though. Sorry to cut you off, Love. I just.
It's all right. So yeah, I mean, my closing thought is like, you know, like task markets are like they're about to be a gigantic part of the labor market, and you know, and what we've done with the Daydreams task market protocol and you know these products that we've built out is like we've built a you know, a concise, you know, clear way for people to build, you know, build direct markets on through the protocol, but then also contribute to the kind of the core, you know, the core products that we're building and participate in these markets that we're making.
All right. Well, we love to see it. Crypto Jones has a quick question we'll try to highlight here. What about computer use agents? Do you foresee agents overseeing other agents? I'm not sure if this ties into the protocol or just any thoughts on that.
Computer use agents. I mean, I think computer use. I mean, maybe, but I think computer use agents are. Yeah, I mean, I guess you could have an agent verifying a computer use agent. But I think that's, yeah, we couldn't really do that through the protocol necessarily. But you could definitely have a computer use agent that's doing a task through the protocol. So like, you know, if you have an agent that has computer access, it could do a task for someone directly through it. So,
all right.
Yeah.
Got it. Loaf, it's always a pleasure. We appreciate you staying up late for us tonight. Glad we could push the schedule
well,
forward.
Juice now. I'm not going to get to bed. I'm not going to get to bed. My kids are up in like 3 hours. So like,
I know, dude. Write a thesis piece and just slam some Red Bull and stay up all night.
I'm out of coffee. All right. I'll see you guys. Bye-bye.
See you, Loaf.
All right, there we go. Back to back. We are going to parlay right into it. Next, we got VeilNet coming up.
Sorry, the Pump Fund Go thing is kind of funny because it's like I can pay $200 for Dom to like jump into a fountain. Let's go.
Streak across the World Cup for the World
Cup. Oh, dude,
token.
This is gonna get dangerous. Like they're gonna have people doing. Remember streaming how bad that was on Pump at first? Like people were doing some weird shit.
Yeah, this might have to get sunsetted if people start going crazy, which I could see. I could see some people that have large supply of meme coins that are heavily illiquid because they can't sell, offering people to do some pretty wild stuff to earn it. So
yeah,
whatever. Nonetheless, we're pivoting. We got VeilNet coming up. We got an interesting conversation with Megumi. I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly, where we're going to talk about privacy and VeilNet. I'm not super familiar with VeilNet. The tech seems to go a little bit over my head after a first glance. So hopefully they can come on and kind of really break it down for us and make it simple for us simpletons. But we're excited. You know, obviously privacy is a huge narrative right now. You know, with Zach just leading the race, protocol level privacy with Railgun. You know, Near's popping off. There's just so much to it.
Wow, WorldCoin is ripping right now. It's up 8% in a terrible tape.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice, Josh. All right. Without further ado, that'll get into the video there, Josh. Megumi, I think, is in the waiting room, so we'll pull him up. Megumi, you hear us?
Hey guys, how are you guys?
Doing well. Welcome to the show. We're excited to chat. Excited to get the full scoop on VeilNet. It's interesting. I actually see 2 of your accounts down there, so I hope I have the right one in. But nonetheless, we're excited to learn about VeilNet and what you guys are offering here. I guess I'll preface this by saying, not a lot of our listeners are deeply technical. We're not super deeply technical, so doing the best you can to keep it high level and just give us that overview, I think is going to be really helpful. But let's do me a favor, start at the top. We want to get to know you a little bit better. So tell us a bit about yourself, your background, where you come from, and what kind of qualifies you to build out VeilNet. And we'll jump right into it.
First of all, we're a privacy infrastructure that is building a whole suite of products that users can use to swap, hide, transfer privately on blockchain. Our whole ethos is that we believe that the public blockchain is a glass house. Everything you do on chain, whether it be swaps, transfers, portfolio views, they eventually build a behavioral graph of everything you do. Now that we have AI, it's very easy to analyze actions on chain. And over time, over the space of a week, over the space of a month, when you repeat certain actions, they build a pattern. And that pattern translates into like a behavior graph that shows what actions you do most regularly, where you transfer to, where you hold your money, where you save your money, where you stake, what protocols you interact with. And in the future, when crypto is more widely used in like day-to-day use, like usage, people will know what you buy, what you consume. And for us, it's a necessity that all becomes private, and there's a suite of products that users can use to hide that information. But yeah, as a background, my background is in software development. Considering we're a privacy team, we are synonymous, but that's intentional. It'd be strange for us to talk about privacy while treating like identity exposure as like the first thing that we do.
Yeah. No worries. I mean, you don't have to get into it. It's just kind of how we always lead into it.
No, of course. So
what
I can say is I've worked previously for one of the biggest fully homomorphic encryption teams in the space. I can't say a name, obviously, due to NDAs, but if you just look at the biggest teams in fully homomorphic encryption, you'll be able to tell most likely where I was working at previously. I kind of started in crypto in 2013 or 2012, around that period of time. And that's because I used to browse a lot of forums that were, some would say hacker forums, some would say image board forums, some would say darknet forums. And that's how my introduction to crypto began. And I feel like crypto over the last 10 years has kind of shifted from a lot of these cypherpunk ideals that people previously held, where it was to firstly combat government overreach, combat political
intrusion
movements
into our lives. Okay,
yes,
political movements. Yeah.
Yeah, in short. And over the last 10 years, it's become more and more of a way to quickly make money. There's nothing wrong with that, but it's more of a thing where the products we build are to kind of link back to the original cypherpunk ideals, where it's all about privacy, being able to speak your mind freely, being able to transfer freely, being able to bank freely. But yeah, that is a little introduction to what we're doing.
Perfect.
Yeah.
I think to set the stage then a bit more, maybe just walk me through your thesis. We see a lot of privacy popping up right now. I think it's top of everyone's mind for many reasons. You guys are building a suite of products. So in general, I think it'll be good to get an idea of where you kind of stand in terms of the thesis for, you said we're in this glass house and things need to be a bit more encrypted, a bit more private. And like the world as we know it is pretty private. You don't want your bank history being out there. You don't want a lot of things you search and do being just out there for everybody, right? I mean, there's aspects of our life that need to be private. So maybe do me a favor and just walk me through the thesis on like where we stand now in terms of crypto privacy and where you think we'll be headed here in the next 2 to 5+ years.
So the way I see it, government overreach becomes greater day by day. Your balances will be on the public blockchain forever. And maybe, for example, this is a funny example. You might have chosen not to pay your crypto taxes back in 2018 because back then it didn't matter. But we have AI now. The tax tools that the governments will use to detect and track and calculate your taxes from 2018 is insane now. So I'm expecting the next 2 years, that a lot of crypto users will have tax bills hit their desks from years ago that they never even remembered or considered, just because they chose to use blockchains publicly, in a sense. That's just one example, but I do think government overreach is ever growing fear. I
Megumi,
do
not
think-
to give tax advice. Let's say,
course.
you were operating in 2012, 2013. Do you consider yourself among that cohort? And if you are one of those persons, what do you do? Because back then, I'm cohort 2014. This wasn't even really a thought. I mean, we didn't even know these assets weren't serious then.
Yeah. I'm not sure what the statute of limitations is on tax, for example, but I'd say the best thing you can do is moving forward is to operate privately. I don't know if you guys have seen the whole rise of Zcash in the last month or so.
Yeah.
Last few months.
For sure.
A lot of that's been pushed by Mert from the Solana ecosystem. And to be honest, it's a great revival of the ideals that around the 2014 era, 2013 era were present. If you guys were ever even a 4chan user in 2012 or 2013, you'd have seen like the way crypto was viewed as like a way to bank privately, to transfer privately, to make like Bitcoin was an asset to transfer to others to pay for things, in a sense. But it's become a lot more than that now, since there's thousands of assets now. What we're building is basically on top of fully homomorphic encryption. So in essence, I'm going to try and make it as less technical as possible. Fully homomorphic encryption is, in short, a way to verify data without ever having viewed the data. A real life example, for example, could be, say, for example, you wanted to enter a nightclub. Normally, you'd have to give your ID to the bouncer. The bouncer will look at your ID, he'll put it through a system, scan it, take a picture, and after it's verified, you would be allowed into the club. But now your ID has your social security number, your address, where you live, your age, your date of birth, a lot of private information that you might not want to be revealed. What if there was a way for your ID to be verified without ever actually having to be viewed? Say, for example, the ID, there was a picture taken of it once, and that was encrypted, and now that data, once it's encrypted, never had to be decrypted to be verified or viewed. That sounds quite like futuristic, right?
Yeah,
No,
That's
but
what
this
fully
was
homomorphic
like the
encryption is.
promise of ZK proofs and stuff for a while. What's the difference of this type of encryption versus that one? Because I've heard this example like going back to 2018-ish.
So what we do, in essence, we also incorporate ZK proofs into our work as well. But what we do is we keep everything. So the issue that came up with ZK proofs and fully homomorphic encryption was that it was very gas heavy, very slow. So imagine the verification, instead of taking seconds, took an hour, 2 hours, and like used up crazy amount of gas fees. We decided to make a way for, if we combine fully homomorphic encryption, ZK proofs, Merkle commitments, if we combine them, we found a way that we could keep the computation off chain, and then we wouldn't have to deal with the crazy gas fees, with the slow latency, and yeah. So when you use the primitives on their own, it's quite slow and quite gas heavy. But the way we've done it off chain is that we verify quite fast, and we hide all your transactions privately.
Quick note here from Darth Infrel. He goes, isn't FHE terribly slow? That's one of the reasons Archium decided not to use it and went with MPC. Do you have any word on that, or I guess response?
So that's kind of what I was just explaining at the moment. It was that FHE is technically very, very slow. It's very gas heavy. But since we keep it off chain, if we used it on the EVM, it would be very slow and very gas heavy. But since everything's done off chain, it doesn't need to be that way. I can run you guys through what products we've kind of built, because I think that's what users are actually interested in. Like, I can talk about the technology for hours and you would understand maybe 80% of it, but it's like, it's about what users actually end up using at the end of the day. That's what matters.
Let's talk about these products.
Okay, so we've got quite a few actually. So we've been building for quite a while. It started off with me building by myself, realizing that I can actually do this sort of stuff like full time in a sense. I ended up onboarding one developer, then another developer, another developer. So we're at this point where it's a team of us that's building these. First of all, we have the Velnet Vault, which is shielded transfers and private balances. So assets like ETH, USDC, Velnet, etc. You can transfer them privately. You can hide your balances. It's like a private wallet almost in a sense. We also have the Veiled DEX, which is basically allow for private swaps where users can trade through our privacy-aware execution flow. And then you get the tokens back in a wallet of your choice or the same wallet. It's all about unlinkability in a sense. We've also created a Veil AI, which basically allows for encrypted prompts and allows you to shield your intent. So in the future, I believe that AI is going to be, a lot of things will be automated, your jobs will be automated, everything you ask in the AI will be building a behavioral graph of the things you do. And if the governments have decided that the AI is, what's the word? If the AI information data sets are required, it will be accessed. I'm pretty sure OpenAI have contracts with the US government already through Star something. So encrypted prompts, shielding intent, all AI interactions don't automatically expose the strategy, the wallet context, agent instructions as plain text. So for example, today you've maybe done 3 prompts on ChatGPT. Those prompts are there forever. They're saved in the data set. Now in the future, that will be able to build a whole profile of what you like, what you do, the things you want. And imagine in the crypto context, this is imagine you tapped into the AI, can you transfer this for me to this wallet? Can you do this for me? Because that's one of the things that AI is going to be used for. It's all too public, it's all too accessible, it's all too exposing in a sense. We also have a MCP server. So Base recently decided to release their own MCP server, which is basically an AI agent server where AI agents can interact and work within certain flows, buying, selling, staking, etc. We decided to make a private layer for AI agents. So AI agents can interact with the Velnet workflows and the configurations remain encrypted. On top of that, we've got encrypted data storage. So users can encrypt files, datasets, configurations, notes, a lot of other things. So it's not just a transfer app. We have like everything you could possibly require in the privacy ecosystem in terms of crypto being built.
Got you. Could you, I mean, there's a lot of products we just covered here. Could you talk me through, I guess, which ones are seeing the most traction, the most use? This is all great in theory, but I think what it comes down to is, what's the go-to-market? How many users are actually participating in this stuff?
So our main product that we're trying to push out there the most is the Veil DEX, because that gives us access to users that are interested in DeFi, and from there, it's like endless possibilities. DeFi will always be one of the biggest use cases for crypto, other than like payments. So almost everything done on chain is DeFi in a sense. So that is the product that we're pushing the hardest. In essence, because after that we're building. Okay, this is like a bit of alpha in a sense, where so the way we see it, it's not just about how much traction we get, how much distribution we get at the moment. It's about first building the working products and then focusing on distribution after. That's why we're doing a lot of marketing, working with a lot of KOLs, podcasts. We're trying to get our name out there in essence. We want to be the leading protocol on Base for privacy. So
quickly on this, I have a question. Like you have these multiple different products, and we see different strategies from founders. Some founders try to cast a wide net and capture, I guess, the general essence of privacy in this case, whereas others will focus specifically on a very niche area or a niche vertical and iterate completely on that in one direction. It seems like you're taking the wider, broader approach to it. Is there any reasoning behind that strategy rather than like, hey, let's just really crush this privacy DEX and then kind of expand out and broaden the ecosystem?
So the way we see it, we've already kind of built most of the products. It's just distribution, which is the the next step in essence. I feel like we can cover all bases, but the focus is the DEX step first.
Yeah,
We're
okay.
also working on X402, which is a narrative that the basic system is pushing quite heavily at the moment. So we're working with one of the biggest protocols in on base called PayAI.
Mhm.
So they have a partnership with IBM and many others. So we've partnered with them, and they're going to be helping us with our X402 wallets, which is basically allowing for like stealth payments, etc. A bit of early alpha for your users. I'm not sure, to be honest. Well, we've got a big partnership coming tomorrow.
Mm.
We haven't said this anywhere else. This is the first place that we're gonna release this news.
Let's go.
So, in terms of the X402 narrative, we are partnering with a company called ShroudFi. ShroudFi are a team that's building stealth payments between AI agents, and we're going to be using their infrastructure and integrating it into Velnet. As well as this, they're going to be building with us and working with our team directly. So, yeah, we haven't released that news anywhere else. So, I guess you guys are the first to ever hear it. Tomorrow, you guys will see a post saying ShroudFi partnership.
We absolutely love that. Could you talk to us a bit more about ShroudFi? So ShroudFi, obviously, they do stealth payments. Do they have anything notable? I guess we could kind of latch onto here.
So I could show you, for example, if I share my screen, if it works.
We'd love that. And yeah, very familiar with PayAI too. That's a great partnership. We've had them on the show a few times now. Actually, we covered them really before they blew up and watched them go to 80 million from that point. So good friends of the show.
Yeah. They were on at like 2 mil and then proceeded to run to 80 mil in like 3 days after the show. And we just had no position. We were just observers, but good team.
My screen's not letting my phone's not letting me share my screen. If you give me 1 second, I'm just gonna.
Yeah, I'm not sure how the phone works for screen.
Yeah, that might not work actually. If you want us, you could ping us in TG and we could pull something up if you had like a website or something you want us to look at.
The website is shroudfi.live, I think. Shroudfi.live. If I can ping it to you in the chat, maybe. SHROUD.fi.live.
Couple of questions. On-chain metrics asked, do you guys build on top of Zama or use completely different technology?
That is a funny question because if you remember the first question, no comment. But we are related. No comment. But we're building very similar technology, very similar technology because of a lot of history.
Interesting. So you're almost building out a competing platform is what I'm picking up.
Yes, which is quite interesting because like. We're building like this is self-funded. We haven't required VCs. Nothing wrong with VCs, just that a lot of VCs are predatory. We're trying to build a product that we know we can fund ourselves. We know the product works. We want users to be happy. And when you involve VCs, you have to give up a lot of your security guarantees. You have to give up a lot of equity. You have to allow for vesting schedules that will end up dumping on you. So there's a lot of negatives that come with it. Obviously, there's the positives of possible better distribution, but we're quite well known in the space. We have a lot of connections. So over the next few weeks, you're going to see a lot of us, even more. So ShroudFi like agent-to-agent payments via stealth wallets, and they're using a new ERC type token type. We're still integrating it. So this is the X402. And yeah.
Okay, got you. So you've talked through the ShroudFi partnership. You have a partnership with PayAI. Did not know PayAI was working with IBM, which is crazy, by the way. But could you talk me through any other partnerships? You said you're well connected in the space. Hopefully on track to becoming one of the leading privacy protocols on base. Could you just talk me through, I guess, some of the strategy there behind who you're partnering with? What kind of comes next in terms of partnerships, etc.
So we haven't actually done any paid deals with any KOLs. It's been quite nice actually that I know how KOL deals work. I've worked with a lot of KOLs in the past, and it's like normally paid partnerships. They take tokens, they take supply. or they take a payment and then they post and then they dump. We've had a lot of organic relationships. So a lot of big KOLs in the base ecosystem reached out to us and built healthy relationships with us. If you guys know Crypto Capo, if you guys know Ironside, if you guys know Unihaxer, a lot of these were just, all of them were organic relationships. They reached out to us and ended up supporting us because they like the technology we're building. I think if the product is good, it sells itself. I know that's not always the case. There's so many good products that go unnoticed, but we kind of got into the privacy narrative and at the right time where everyone was looking for, where is Base taking privacy? What is the next privacy play on Base? And we got I would say a lot of it would be luck. I would say that some of the biggest names in the space in terms of like key influencing and stuff took a notice of us and decided to support us organically. They didn't take any supply. They were like, we're going to push you guys. You just have to keep building one. And we're not selling. We're not here to make money. We're here to build a product and eventually come down the line. A lot of the fees that we make are going to be redirected to users. Well, that's another piece of alpha. I keep on releasing alpha. I'm going to get shouted at later. So we've got a staking platform coming. The fees we generate from the DEX, from a lot of the things we do, will reroute back into the token or back to holders via staking.
So there is going to be some sort of network effect where you take the VeilNet token, you stake it, and some of the fees that are coming through are going to get automatically via smart contract routed to the stakers. Is that accurate?
Yes.
Interesting. And by the way, shout out Capo. He's obviously the one that reached out to us about getting you guys on. So yeah, want to show him some
Capo's
love as
been
well.
honestly beyond helpful. He's connected to so many people, and it's like
He's a bad worker.
without taking a penny off us, he just supports us organically. He sees the technology we're building, he realizes the value of it, and even in the past, we've had, like, for example, instance where, let's say something's not working. Someone's messaged Capo saying, this doesn't work. Why are you shilling this? He's messaged us. We've fixed it. We've DM'd the person. We've fixed it for them, or shown them how to do it so it doesn't look like it's not working, for example. But we're very in touch with our community because we want to build products that people can actually safely use. But yeah.
Got you. So you mentioned not going down the VC route because it's predatory. How are you guys staying funded right now? Is this a launch through Banker and the fees are keeping you guys afloat?
Yes, so the fees are keeping us afloat in some sense, but we also, I wouldn't want to say we can fund ourselves for a while, like we're good to go. The fees is like something on top, if that makes sense. But Banker, they have one of the best launch pads as of current on Base, and the fee, the way it works, I think it's 50% token, 50% USDC or something. And it's like, it's just really good.
Do you have any
So shout out
traction
to Banker.
shout out Banker, man. Any traction or numbers you could share surrounding this? Just trying to get a gauge on who's using it. And like a lot of what you said was obviously we've just been building the product and like distribution is going to come. So, if that's slow at the moment, that's okay. I'm just kind of trying to understand if we have any traction or we're pre-revenue or where we stand.
I can't exactly say exact numbers, but I would say that for people that we've only been active in the space for 3 weeks, we are, I would say, top 2 privacy protocols on Base at the moment.
Got you. So feedback's been pretty positive.
Yeah, like very positive.
Got you.
We've got
right.
over about, I think it's 600 unique wallets that have interacted with our DEX just by itself.
How do you grow this thing out? When you think about the go-to-market strategy here, I mean, like, sure, there's KOL distribution, but what about like incorporating into, at a protocol level? We talk about protocol level privacy, right? You have MetaMask, you have Rainbow, you have Rabby, or these wallets. Like, are you thinking about incorporating this DEX or some of these technologies into applications on Base?
Definitely. I think that would be an amazing way to get distribution. If we can incorporate those, it would be like an amazing fast way to capture a number of users and interact with a lot more people.
Got you. Josh, I don't know if I really have too much more other than like roadmap and kind of wrapping.
No,
If you have
before we
anything.
get to the roadmap, Crypto Jones had a questions here. Crypto Ledger will always create a trail of crumbs back to the source wallet. I think it's a problem with the onboarding fundamentally. How does Veil solve that issue?
Transparency of crypto ledger, but always get Trump's back to source. Onboarding fundamental, how does that solve that? Well, I think that putting funds on chain is the only way is not doesn't have to be a centralized exchange, first of all. And our contract level encryption allows us to interact with other protocols privately. So we've done so many things. So we've got, it's like a mix of polymorphic encryption, ZK proofs, nullifiers, Merkle proofs, Merkle commitments. There's so much going on that it's like a combination of it hides transactions the best way possible, while cheapest way possible. So Veil allows you to not just encrypt your on-chain actions, it allows to interact to hide anything you do with that within our contract. And
Outside of the sorry, I'm so sorry for cutting you off. Continue, please.
No, you can continue. It's okay.
Yeah, I wanted to ask, like, outside of the DEX, is there other parts of this, execution layer that generates fees or revenues?
So I would say that DEX is the main one, but we also have fees from transfers. We have the MCP server, so AI agents when they transfer the fee. So those three, but I would say the DEX is the main one.
Okay, great. And do you envision that outside of the DEX, eventually all platform fees will direct back to the token? There's no like
that
business
is fine.
equity or something here.
Say again?
I said there's no like business equity. There's no VeilNet LLC somewhere that's like, getting all the revenue, or is it all flowing back into the token?
Just flowing back in the token. That's the plan.
Got it.
When staking goes live this week, all of that will flow back.
Okay, cool. I think, sorry, maybe just forward looking, and then we'll wrap there. This is maybe like just understanding the consumer journey. Like, if I'm to use this, am I going to these products and then hooking my wallet up and then using them? Just to confirm, that's like the way I use VeilNet, right?
So you'd I didn't fully understand the question.
Like, let's say I'm a brand new user. You're onboarding me. Like, how do I use VeilNet? Am I clicking launch app and then I'm in like a DEX and I can tell my agent go use this network? Like, how? Yeah, what's the exact like thing that you tell a new user to do?
So our website has the app application on it. It's like a DApp, and from there you can transfer. So you connect your wallet, you transfer. For example, the first step normally people do, the first product we released was the private transfers. You connect your wallet on the DApp, and then you send the fees. Send the money you want to transfer privately into our contract. We mix it, run it through our encryption, encrypt it, transfer it to another wallet, run it through another encryption, and then you pick which wallet you want it sent to.
Got it. Okay. Yep. No, that makes perfect sense. All right. Forward-looking thoughts and just where this goes. I mean, we'll pull your chart up after you hop here. You have a great performing chart. This is done quite well.
Considering we've had no paid deals, it's been quite a shocker how far we've gone, to be honest. But forward looking, I would say that since I've already mentioned all of the alpha, it's like kind of like I'm gonna get shouted at. But we've got private staking coming this week, and we've got a ShroudFi partnership that is going to be quite huge, as well as that PayAI had just partners with us today. So
nice.
PayAI, I think it was Google, was it IBM they had a partnership with. It was quite big. But PayAI are huge in the base ecosystem, and for them to partner with us kind of shows the level we're at now. 3 weeks in, one of the biggest protocols on base is partnering with us.
Nice.
Yeah.
Cool. That's all I had, Dom.
Yeah, no, I think that pretty much covers the picture here. So we appreciate you coming on, Megumi. I hope I've been saying that right. And it was good to get some inside look into what you're building in VeilNet and what's coming next.
Private staking is the next step for us, and we want to redirect fees to users because we don't need the fees. We want users to be benefiting from using our platform, while also token holders to benefiting from our platform.
All right, thanks so much for coming on. We will stay in touch, and best of luck to you.
Thanks so much. You guys take care.
All right, we are about to jump into the next one here shortly. Josh, do we want to give a read on VeilNet? You know, maybe we even start at Dolphin here. You know, then go on to Loaf and Daydreams, and then we can talk about Veil. But any initial feedback?
Yeah, I mean, we saw Radar was like a big one on Solana that ran it up a non-team, but it ended up not working out. This one I think is really interesting, and again, a lot of these things are built and predicated around like, are people using it? 600 wallets is actually pretty good. That's a decent amount of traction already. I will say Megumi sounds pretty smart, quite smart, in fact. And yeah, I think it's one of those things. It's hard to trust on teams, but sometimes it does work out. But yeah.
Yeah, it's the biggest blocker. There's so many good options in this market, and we've been burned so bad so many times. It's always tough to get these anonymous teams up here. You know, Daydreams has been one that's been in the game for a while, so it's a little easier to trust that. You know, VeilNet being a couple weeks old, I think for me it's just seeing some of the traction. Seeing growth, seeing more partnerships. Talking to our partners about how they, what's the read on these things, and yeah, I just say, obviously, always do your own due diligence and move with caution for these anonymous teams, because we've seen it time and time again. And you don't want to cast these stones at people out the gate, but it's just the precautions you have to take. Yeah, it is what it is. So that's VeilNet. Daydreams. What do we think about the update? They're kind of pivoting from X402 predominantly to more of this task market situation. I think you're spot on. I think the task market probably does get eaten up by AI agents quite a bit. No mention of Ace. He did mention maybe the network token would be or Dreams would be a network token that plays into it. Any big takeaways, or just like?
Yeah, I'm a bad AI video creator. I'm a bad prompter. I use it to the best of my ability, but I'd much rather pay people to do this, pay agents to do this. Like task markets for this kind of stuff, I think make complete sense. What I need to see is just a closed loop. Like, okay, I put up a video, a request for a video, it got fulfilled. Now I can kind of train my agent to, every prompt, just throw tasks out there and things are being completed. And like we've seen, this is a non-new concept. We've kind of heard about it for the last few months, but it's like the loop hasn't been closed for me yet on these. I think it was a Clawlancer was trying to do the same thing. So it's just, I need to close that loop.
What about Dolphin here? That was a pretty great opening conversation, I think.
Dude, biggest fade of my life. Biggest fade of my life. Like if they were truly building and their model was the default model in Venice for like years, and their token launched, like can you pull up the Dolphin chart real quick?
Yeah, I got
like this token was like pod was like 2 mil for like 2 months. Such an obvious like play at that point. And Decentralize or Die was all right. Look at March to May. Like, guys.
So this is trading again, like key takeaways here that I'm looking at from my notes. It's, they raised 900K 2 years ago for AI. We know how much these AI labs can raise. I mean, there's like exuberant amounts of money. That was 2 years ago. Now they're like the main uncensored model provider for Venice. And they're really pivoting into this, peer to pool, which is a interesting model, peer to pool kind of DPIN model for distributed networks, distributed inference, I should say, which I think is pretty interesting. They've already got 300-400+ GPUs on there, which is pretty cool. So I think, yeah, 13 mil is when kind of becomes, it's a growth investment. I'm not sure if like the revenue numbers are very secure, or like he didn't tell us any revenue numbers. So it's kind of hard to judge or gauge, but 13 mil market cap, assuming buybacks and burns outpace inflation, this seems very interesting.
Yeah.
Yes.
Jeet Sparrow, I'm already all over this one. I've already made money on my DLIM. Let's see, actually, what did I ended up closing it, but I made like a quick one soul on like a 7 soul position. So I'll take that.
You close it. It's been chopping so nicely.
I know. The problem is my liquidity was chasing it higher and higher. And then I started getting filled quite a bit. And then it was going negative because I was getting filled a lot at a very top of like the range, but then it just ranged, right? And remember, delimbing's great, but if it cuts through your liquidity really fast, you can get hurt really bad. And so from experience trading meme coins, I was just, being a little more cautious on it, but I closed it for a nice profit twice. But again, yeah, liquidity. I would have loved to have been the key here is I knew this was coming. Soju tweeted it out. Like we knew. We talked about it, I believe, even earlier this week that there was something coming, and I just wasn't paying attention at 9 a.m. this morning when I should have been. That's the problem that I had. That's where you make the real money on these things. You buy a bunch of it when it goes live, and then you just delim it out, bid ask it out. I would have made it could have been my biggest trade. And it could have been again, I like delimbing this even here because we know that there's some fundamental value to it. Unlike a meme coin, and I saw it on the timeline, people are like, oh, I'm, the meme coin's down 60%. I earned 15% in fees. Yeah, well, that's a problem with meme coins. That's why I'm delimbing utility projects.
5.7 million in volume with 159K in liquidity. Holy fees.
I'm telling you, man, I was earning 400%, 500% APR in 24-hour fees.
Dude, that's
and
insane.
I had, I'm not going to say it's really a hockey chirp, but I just didn't have the cojones to keep it on. I like keeping my win rate up there, but yeah.
So here's the TLDR on this. Treasury breakdown. There's 254,000 USDC from the initial sale. 30K SV15 tokens. What's going to happen is from the fees, they're going to constantly go to buying back these unsealed packs. So there is a net asset value of this, right? Whatever the net asset value of the number of packs they have on hand, right? So take the value of the pack and say one pack is $100. If you have 100 packs, the net asset value, you just got to multiply it, right? So there is a net asset value. There is technically a floor you could look at here. I think with Bedrock, what's interesting about Bedrock structure, and you should note this, if you're savvy enough and the markets are really bad and this becomes a sleepy token, Bedrock has an interesting structure here, right? Just like the traditional markets. If you buy up 30% of supply, you can make a deal with the founder to buy the remainder of supply at, a specific multiple, right? So let's say there's $100 in net asset value and this token dips to $70, right? It's down 30% to what the true net asset value is. If you go and accumulate 30% of supply here, right, over time, you can average in with Meteor technology. You actually have a claim on the entire supply, right? So you can take the entire 100% of supply here, go to the Bedrock team and be like, we want to claim on the rest of this, and they can make you a deal. Now you're going to have to buy out the rest of it, right? You don't just, get handed the rest of it, but you have to go from 30% to 100%, and they'll do a multiple, maybe 1 to 1.25, right? So you have to pay 25% premium. It only makes sense if it really dips below, 30, 40, 50% below NAV, but there is an angle there to where it kind of should support a floor, because if someone sees it dip way below, they can go and buy that 30% of supply and do a bit of a takeover. So interesting structure there with the Bedrock Foundation. So keep that in mind. We don't need to chat too much more. We have, Sade team in the back rooms here. Back rooms. It's a movie I just watched. But we have Salads in the back room. So maybe I'll give a little intro and we can talk about this.
Was that a really quick? Was that a good movie? Because I thought it was okay.
I
Okay.
wasn't
There,
super impressed.
there's like a really cult following around
Yeah.
the back rooms. And I had a guy in a gaming studio I ran who was like, we built games around that concept. Actually, low key, I was pitching IKEA. IKEA wanted this gaming concept once, and we were pitching them on a backroom style game with their IKEA furniture, and you had to like survive the back rooms, or your furniture would fall through the bottom and then just land in a massive pile of everyone else who fell through the bottom and died, or quote unquote died. Anyways, they loved it. Almost sold it, but you know.
Dang. No, the Backrooms lore goes deep. It was a cool movie. I wasn't really impressed by the, I guess, the main antagonist or villain, I guess you could say. But it's a very trippy one. Like after the movie, I had to sit there and go like, you know, really break it down, really talk through it, watch one of these explainer videos. So it was like a bit of a mental sprint for me. Then I also watched Obsession recently. I'm not a moviegoer. I'm really not a moviegoer, but I've seen 3 movies in the last month in theaters, and I haven't gone to the theaters in like a year plus. I saw Michael Jackson movie, Obsession, and then Backrooms. Obsession was good. I will say Obsession was pretty good. What's awesome about both of these, why I love these, is both Backrooms and Obsession were produced by, I think Obsession was a 26-year-old and the Backrooms was a 21-year-old or a 20-year-old. Produced both of these, and it's really cool because we see the movie industry, even the music industry, a lot of these Hollywood industries are very gate kept by like families that have been around forever. It's a very gate kept industry. So it's really cool to see creators. Both of these kids are really young. Both of them came from like making YouTube shorts and YouTube content to producing these movies. So seeing these really young kids who are actually talented, kind of overtake Hollywood and disrupt it is really awesome to see. There was a $750,000 budget for Obsession. It went and grossed $100 million in box office the first 2 weeks. One of the most successful movies of all time in the recent years.
Let's quit crypto and pivot to movie
Dude,
generation.
I'm saying, bro. And then Backrooms obviously was a smashing hit as well. When you have stuff like The Mandalorian, which is costing $15 million an episode to produce, or like Spider-Man Noir, $15 million an episode. It's pretty crazy to see Hollywood gets disrupted, which it needs a disrupting. Hollywood sucks right now. Movies suck. So I was really happy to see that, at least recently. So there's my little what I've been doing spiel. I never go to the movies, but they
didn't throw in a little like cultural enhancements to any of these movies.
No, there was no
political enhancements.
No gay scenes in any of them, as far as I could recall. It wasn't like Snow White, it wasn't like Snow White, where Snow White was like Ariel being, I don't know, whatever it was. Nonetheless, yeah, there's no cultural, political correctness. It was a good old fashioned horror films, right? So love to see it. Love to see it.
I mean, I was just watching some movies the other night and just right in there.
It's shoved down your throat, man. I can't watch a damn show with my girl without just being bombarded.
I just want to watch drug dealers shoot at each other. Like, I really don't care about. Anyways.
Okay. Yeah, that's. I'm with you. I think actually most people can relate at this point. Okay. With that being said, guys, we're not gonna talk too much more on our movie taste, but maybe Salad's watch some of them. He can give us his takes. We got Salad coming up from Sade. Obviously Sade they've been on the show before. We have them really early days. They've been popping off recently. We're gonna talk about growth. We see they're integrated with Claw Pump, working with some of the ecosystem there. They've gotten like 3,000 plus KYA agents, right? KYA, know your agent, just like we know KYC today. Know your customer. We got KYA, know your agent. And Sade's kind of pioneering this in this future of, knowing the agents you interact with, how important, these agents are and some of this technology is. So we're going to have him back on. We're going to talk through it. Without further ado, let's get Mr.
Can you pull chart real quick before pulling him up?
We have to. Chart.
Yeah.
Now, market's rough, but I will say this chart is holding up very resiliently to the rest of the market. So, we'll give that a clap. And this is a product of hustle right here. This is a product of hustle right here. Look at this. We launched back in February, right? 17th of February we launched. And for really 89, call it 90 days, it had the initial pump, but it faded off for, 70 days. Little to no traction. Team just kept grinding, working. They go and integrate with Claw Pump. people start picking up on it. They're like, hey, why not integrate this into my platform? And since this time it popped significantly from 350K to 1.8 million at all-time highs, since pulled back, of course, partially market conditions. So that's a chart. It is a story of, persistence. So we love to see it here, and we're glad that they're doing good. Let's get them up on the stage here and talk through it. Mr. Salad, how are we doing?
How are we doing, guys? Thank you very much for having me on.
Dude, we are excited to have you on. The growth is frankly pretty insane from what I've seen. I think your numbers have been scaling pretty drastically, so we're really excited to dive into it.
For sure, yeah, it's been a bit of a crazy time for sure. I mean, as you said, we had a pretty drastic kind of taper off on the token. I think it's a thing of attention, but now it's kind of it's rotating the attention back into us and kind of giving the market a reason to catch on.
Absolutely. Before we jump into Sade here, just a little icebreaker. Did you watch any of the movies we talked about? You were in the back room while we were talking about the back rooms. Did you catch any of these in theater?
I'm not much a moviegoer myself, but I definitely relate to cultural. You know what I mean? Cultural kind of nuggets being
yeah.
Look,
you
a
got
little propaganda for you there.
We're sitting here walking a tightrope here. It's shows the state of things right now. But we're not gonna push you into a box here and have you become the martyr for I don't know whatever you think should or should not be in a show. We're gonna stick to Sade today. Yeah, right. Sure. Okay. Well, we appreciate that. I wanted to see if you would watch those movies because I was kind of juiced about them recently. But with that being said, dude, we're excited to have you back on. Let's give the people a bit of an intro on yourself. For those that aren't familiar with you guys or didn't catch the first conversation we had on the Sade protocol, maybe walk us through the lore on Mr. Salads.
For sure. Yeah. So I've been building in Web3 for maybe five-ish years, mainly focused on consumer-facing products. And this is my first real, stab at kind of at an infrastructure product, and it's been a challenging experience, but very, very rewarding. And I can feel that my expertise, or I guess my skills, have grown a lot throughout this period.
Nice. Love to hear it. Parlay that into Sade infrastructure. Your background. How did this bring you to seeing, I guess, a gap in the market or a problem, and the solution that you guys are really trying to solve for here at Sade?
Yeah, so initially we entered into the Coliseum Agents Hackathon. This would have been, back in February, I want to say, maybe end of January into February. And we identified there was a gap for an identity primitive on Solana. On Ethereum at the time, ERC-8004 was I guess, being adopted as the EVM identity standard for agents on EVM. And we identified that there was a gap on Solana. So we decided to fill that.
Nice. And what does that gap look like that you're stepping in and filling?
Well, it's the same primitive that was filled with ERC-8004. It's essentially identity for agents on EVM. With said, we've done the same thing, but we've also kind of taken it a bit further with trust and reputation, as well as agent-to-agent cross-chain messaging.
Why is trust and reputation important for agents, right? I just want an agent to work. This may be an argument for someone. I don't care if my agent is, well-known or reputable. I just want my agent to work and do its job. You come back and say, no, it is important that these guys have identity and reputation for this reason, this reason, this reason. Can you walk me through, what some of those reasons may be?
For sure. I mean, ultimately, the most important thing is your agent's use case, right? Like if you have an agent that isn't necessarily taking part in the agentic economy, then sure, its reputation isn't as important. However, if you have an agent that's going to be trading, it's going to be swapping, buying, buying anything on chain, you want your agent to have a verifiable reputation and proof of work, essentially proof of a historical backlog of actions on chain, and that's what we're providing. For example, let's say you have an agent. I mean, we used this analogy when we last came on, right? We want to be able to identify agents that act in good faith and agents that are acting maliciously, and having a verified reputation that is verifiable on chain is the perfect way to achieve that.
Can you talk me through, you know, what the reaction has been to, I guess, protocols you're approaching?
Dom, can I get one more follow on from what he just said there? Salads, before we get into more of the ecosystem, because I do want to get into this. What, like, how do you do this? Are you tagging agents with like some sort of NFT, or like, is there a database where they're tied to like my identity? Like, how do you actually give an agent reputation?
Sure. So first and foremost, it's identity. We create a PDA, so the agent's wallet interacts with our program. It creates a program-derived address, and that itself is essentially a key that doesn't have a private key, and that is the agent's identity, is the PDA.
Got you. Okay. Well, then now I'll jump.
One other thing as well. Sorry. That is not necessarily tied to the human side. This is specifically agent side, right? So there's no tie to the operator of the agent. That's
right.
Something for the future.
And a PDA stands for what?
Program derived address.
Okay, program derived address. And then is it like a wallet address?
No, it's not necessarily a wallet address because there's no private key. It's owned by the program. It is an address, but it's not a wallet address. The wallet address is the agent's wallet address that interacts with the program to create a new address.
Well, so for like data points on the internet, like we have email addresses for our personal messaging, you know, endpoint where it goes to. We have wallet addresses for funds that come to us. Is like, I'm just trying to understand, is this just like a hash of data or something that that anchors what that agent is on the internet?
Yeah, so it's essentially anchoring the agent's interacted address with our program, right? So it's proving interaction with the program and the agent's wallet.
Okay, got
creating a unique program derived address.
Got it. Okay. Sorry, Dom, continue.
Yeah, no. So this makes complete sense. I think even more so diving into the thesis here, like where do we head in terms of like the future for the agentic economy? Obviously, it's pretty clear at this point that we're headed there. I mean, just before this, we had Daydreams on who was talking about the growth of this task market and how they think a lot of this is going to be offset or arbitraged to AI agents completing these tasks. No doubt it's growing rapidly. You know, how do you see this growing, and where do you guys position into that to really capture, I guess, the trust layer for all these agents that are doing these tasks, or, you know, just massively growing?
I think ultimately the agentic economy is still in its infancy, right? I mean, we're seeing massive growth. I read a stat recently, there's like over 230,000 agents already deployed across chains. And over 65% of all X402 transactions are on Solana, which is an insane stat if you think about it.
Wow.
You know, a very small amount of those agents that are transacting are on Solana in comparison to EVM. If we look at like ERC-8004, the registry there is huge. So I think it's still in its infancy. It's still early days, but it's expanding and growing at a very, very fast rate. And I think now is the perfect time to be filling this gap.
Yeah, and we've featured other agent identity protocols before, and I guess the question becomes, you know, like what's Sage Mode specifically? I'm seeing all these partnerships are spinning up, so clearly you're doing lots of legwork on the BD side, and like you're gaining traction here, and I guess like Emote is just being the go-to provider and being the most used kind of entrenches you a bit. But could you talk to me about like why is Sade going to edge out competition, whereas there are other people competing for this reputation layer for AI agents?
Yeah, I think identity on its own is, others can provide that for sure. It's an infrastructure that there are other competitors, there are other players, 100%. It's about providing additional infrastructure on top of the identity that keeps everyone within the ecosystem and encourages others to build with you instead of others.
Got you. How are you guys doing that specifically?
So I think building our agent-to-agent communication layer has been a pretty big one for us. It resolves cross-chain, so said verified agents can communicate with the RCA004 agents. And yeah, I feel like that's a pretty big selling point for us.
Got you. When you go to these partners, right? You've partnered with Zona here as one. You've partnered with ClawPump. I mean, here I have a picture of your ecosystem: 80 million in total volume, $20 million ecosystem market cap, 3.6K SOL and agentic funding. This is all for ClawPump Tech, who is a partner of yours. How has the feedback been from partners or people you approach? I'm kind of curious to lean into your go-to-market strategy here, and then what people are saying when you say, "Hey, look, I want to integrate Sade into your platform so we can get these agents verified." What's the feedback been?
Very, very positive. I mean, we've been integrated into ClawPump from very early days. The same goes for Zona. And we've been working closely with them for months now. And I mean, recently we've been seeing platforms coming to us and integrating us proactively. So I think there's definitely a demand for what we've built.
Effect.
And yeah, 100%. Ultimately, it's an attention market, isn't it? And I think with more eyes, definitely come more integrations.
So what's the play here? Like how do we scale this? 4,000 agents. I think last time we spoke, there was not even maybe 400 agents that have verified through the Sade infrastructure platform. Now there's 4,000. So you 10x, I believe, if I'm accurate on the numbers. What do you attribute a lot of this to?
I think when we were last on, there would have been around 1,000, roughly 1,000 agents. And yeah, I mean, even still, a 4x in growth over this time is, we're very, very grateful for that. It's been a lot of hard work. Being consistent, shipping regularly, transparency with the community and our holders as well. I mean, just a lot of hard work.
Got you. And what does that hard work continue to look like? Are you, in your BD strategy and your go-to-market strategy here? Obviously, you have, like you mentioned, distribution helps, and just being out there and people seeing your partnerships and seeing that you're related to these people helps with your growth, and it's like that snowball effect. But what are you guys doing, I guess, specifically on the go-to-market side to really just continue to deeply integrate yourself into these platforms?
I mean, we're doing a lot of outreach. We're constantly scouting for agent launch pads to integrate with, even compute providers to integrate with. We have some really interesting and exciting announcements coming out later today. The potential breadth of what we're providing. So if we're talking identity, the main kind of direction we're looking to go is agent launch pads, essentially. But then with the reputation layer, that can be a lot more widely distributed to other types of partners that we'll be announcing later on today.
Can I ask about these partners? You talk about inference, agent launch pads. We had ClawPump on a few weeks ago, and seemingly since then, it's just been a vertical lineup for their eco. There's Squire, which totally was on our radar, like 500K market cap. And it's done incredibly well. There's a number of other projects like there's one other one in the ClawPump eco that's doing like some trading thing on Hyperliquid. Anyways, how do you think of like ClawPump's success? Like where's the success come from? And like, yeah, I just want to get your take on Claw Pump specifically and where you think that this goes.
So the question is where I think Claw Pump goes from here.
Yeah, I'm trying to get a POV, like what your take is on the Claw Pump ecosystem, and what, like, we have inference there. There's the launch pad. Like, where does this end up for Claw Pump in this ecosystem?
I mean, what Claw Pump are doing is they're looking for autonomous finance, essentially, right? Agentic finance. They want their agents to be earning autonomously without any human intervention. That's really the end goal. And I think expanding the ecosystem, getting more eyes, as I've already said, it's an attention market, is the number one way to bring more agents into their ecosystem.
Okay, and then compute. I mean, obviously the agents earn a bit of money, then they're buying their own compute. They're verifying their identity with you guys. Is it stop there? That's the ecosystem, or is there more to it that, Claw Pump and the ecosystem? Because obviously if Claw Pump grows, so do you guys. And that's kind of what I'm trying to get at here.
For sure. I mean, ultimately, if any of our partners are doing well, then we're all doing well. I will say the ecosystem of teams that are in kind of this, it's the Claw Pump ecosystem. We're all very supportive. We're all kind of looking out for each other and wanting to support each other. And I think however we can help Claw Pump and however they can help us, we're gonna continue to do that. I'm not really sure that answers your question. I'm not sure if I understand it, to be honest. But
no, I mean, I'm more just looking for a perspective, because you talk to them and this is like, your little world that you're operating in. And I'm trying to see if, like, is the Claw Pump eco going to be 10 times bigger, in 6 months from now than it is today, and be the next virtuals? Like, we're just trying to understand, like, are there other projects in Claw Pump that are really exciting, and use cases that we haven't paid attention to yet, that you're seeing could be quite interesting? Just, again, looking for an ecosystem take more than anything, is because it's part of kind of your messaging and whatnot. But yeah, if that was it, that's all good.
Yeah, no, 100%. I mean, the other teams that are building in the Claw Pump eco, we have obviously Nemo.
Yes, Nemo is the name I'm looking at. Yeah.
Yeah. So they're doing very well as well, and their founder kind of just found himself in this situation and is now super excited and really enjoying the journey that it's been. I think the hard work that all of these teams are putting in is clearly showing, and I can't give estimates or predictions for what's going to happen to the ecosystem in the future, but seeing the amount of work that everyone's putting in, I know that things are going to continue growing for sure.
Let's refocus more so on your numbers. I have this on your website pulled up, talking about your pricing. Obviously 4,000 agents signed up. Are you comping any of this, or are these all paid agents? And what does that look like in turn for, I guess, top line revenues, and how does that flow back to the token ultimately?
So all platform revenue, so every single agent verification or message that's sent after the 10 free messages per day, 20% of that revenue goes back into our chart, and 10% of all creator awards also go back into the chart. So all of the verified agents that you see on our counter, they are verifiable, and they're all on chain, right? So you can see each of these verified agents on our program.
Got you. And I see the pay per message pricing as well. Could you just walk me through how that works? Obviously, you can create a verified agent, one-time fee, 0.01 Solana. Walk me through the different tiers here, what this means for like economics, how this works entirely.
The pay per message.
Yeah. I mean, what does that look like?
So it's 1 cent in USDC via X402. Every single said agent has up to 10 free messages per day. It can resolve to ERC 8004 agents as well. And after the 10 free messages per day, it costs 1 cent per message.
And what's it messaging? It's not, it needs to be economically relevant to, you know, for it to justify a 1 cent fee to message. It's not going to say like, you know, my agent's not going to say, hey, Dom, what's up to Dom's agent. It'll probably do something valuable. So what kind of things are agents messaging each other about?
I think at the moment it's ultimately human control is very important, right? And I think we're kind of trying to find a way to move away from humans being kind of heavily involved in the agentic economy. So I think for now it's mainly human interaction, asking for whether it's data or transaction history, etc. Those sorts of things. But I think ultimately it's just a way of kind of getting information from an agent.
Got it. Okay, cool.
Yeah, can you talk me through a bit on funding? How's that been? Obviously, you have this token. You guys get fees from that. Are you seeking additional funding right now? You know, how are we thinking for like runway on this company and kind of making this extend as long as possible? Or are revenues covering all expenses? Maybe just give me a general idea on how that's looking.
Yeah, we're definitely interested in securing funding. You know, ultimately the token has been the #1 funding source for us. The token's been doing really well recently, and yeah, we've been doing well with fees, but of course, looking to expand that is definitely on the cards.
Got you. Maybe as we think future, think ahead, you said there's some big announcements coming, but what's the roadmap looking like? What comes next? Obviously, the integrations have been great. The snowball effect's kind of in full swing here, and you've met some partnerships and you've made some good strides in the space. What comes next for yourself and the team? What does the roadmap look like?
I think it's just going to be keeping our heads down. You know, we want to keep building out our network, keep getting the integrations rolling. And yeah, I think ultimately it's just about perfecting the product. We've also been working on our consumer arm of the protocol, which is a Telegram agent that can send crypto to another Telegram user just by using its handle. They don't need a wallet. We just spin up an agent for them automatically. So we have a lot of stuff in the works, very exciting things to come. And yeah.
All right. Any words for the people or anything we didn't cover today that you want to touch on before we jump?
Well, I want to say thank you to you guys for having me on again. It's been a bit of a wild ride since I was last on here. So yeah, very grateful for the opportunity again.
That it has, man. We're happy to see it happen. Like I said, there was 90 days where you guys were just heads down with very little attention, and it's a testament to, I guess, persistence to show that you've kind of come out of that and continued to scale, and 4x your growth from the last time we spoke, from 1,000 to 4,000 agents. People are catching on. I think they see this narrative picking up and they know it's important to get ahead of it. And if you guys can position yourself or establish yourself as those go-to providers early on, you have a lot of, I guess, moat just in being, the go-to. So really interesting stuff. I'm not entirely sure what competitors are looking like now, so maybe you could fill me in on that. But are there any competitors right now that are, obviously I'm not going to say you're worried about them, but that are, I guess, like making a dent in this industry that you're trying to really topple here?
I mean, there are definitely competitors, but I think, the numbers speak for themselves. We are by far the identity protocol with the most verified agents and agents in our registry on Solana. Yeah. And I think the plan is to keep it that way, continue shipping, continue integrating, and yeah.
I think, sorry, go ahead, Dom.
And I think that's the selling point, right? Like, I think you can go to these protocols and say, look, we are the biggest agent layer on Solana. We have the most users. We are the most trusted. And that's like the edge right now. You can roll with that and really just parlay that into other partnerships, other growth opportunities. I think from there, the biggest factor is like switching costs. How do you make sure you can keep these sticky users coming back and, make sure they go with you and keep switching costs or make it difficult for people to switch, I guess, from that point. But it is good to see that you guys are number one right now. It's interesting to hear that because there's so much growth to be done. I think a bet on Say is more so a bet on just the growth of the agentic market and this idea of, verified agents kind of being there in the future. And so this seems to be a bit of a proxy on that.
Yeah, and Salads, I don't know if you mentioned this. You said 20% of revenue goes through to the token, and I don't know if you're open to sharing, but what are the revenues of the business? Like, how many messages are agents sending beyond that 10 message limit, and
So I
what does
think
that add up to?
So I think our main revenue stream at the moment is verifications. Paper messages is definitely not leading for protocol revenue. We're looking at around, it's all public on our site. We have on the token page, we have all of the numbers public there. I believe it's around like 46 Solana, 47 Solana in revenue, which in the grand scheme I know feels like not much, but if we think about what we're actually doing and what it actually is and the cost per agent, I think it definitely speaks for itself.
Yeah. No,
Are the margins on this pretty high?
Yeah, I mean, for sure. It doesn't really cost anything to, for a verification. It's just built in.
Yeah, in turn, 47 Sol for verification, I think seems really interesting. Is there like other value added kind of services here that could be higher revenue generators? Like once you have a verified agent, I feel like there are other things you can layer on here that
Absolutely.
generate significant revenue.
Yeah, 100%. I think, for right now, it's about adoption, right? It's about kind of really building the network. And then we have some plans so currently you're able to call our endpoints for agent reputation scores and, those sorts of things. And obviously right now they're free. I think we'll likely be shipping a more in-depth reputation endpoint. And that would be another paid offering,
Okay, cool.
Yep. No, I think some good notes there at the very end. So we appreciate you, Salads. Always a pleasure. We want to watch this thing grow. 4,000 next time we have you on. We want to see it at 40,000, right? So that would be pretty incredible. And I think, again, the 43 Solana would quickly scale to 430 and 4,300 and so on and so forth. So you're in an interesting spot. I do think it's probably something we see in the future of agents. So I think generally, directionally, you're correct. And if you can continue to keep this tailwind on your back, you're looking good, man. So we appreciate you, Salads.
Likewise, guys. Thank you again for the time. And yeah, we'll catch up.
Cheers.
Chat soon. Alrighty. That was the day. 4 interviews, early morning.
I'm thrilled you all integrate X402. There you go.
Let's go, baby. Yeah, so there was, you got the full scoop today. Markets are tanking, Bitcoin's back down. I'll do a quick little on-chain overview because there are a few things that look pretty fascinating. We got to start with cards, right? Just kind of into the conversation we had earlier. The cards narrative and cards meta has been so hot right now. I put out a post recently. They're doing $215 million annualized right now. Profit. 215 million annualized profit right now, with a market cap of 50 million and a 390 million FTV. This is like a 1.8 price to earnings ratio if you're taking the fully diluted value, not factoring growth. Now, of course, that's taking their highest revenue day on January 1st and annualizing it. So there's a bit of hyperbole there, or hyperbole, whatever you call it. There, it's probably going to dip down at some point, but 700 users, they hit a new all-time high, which is like nearly double from where it was. And I think that's the biggest selling point on cards. They have a relatively small user base here with 700. Like there's a lot of room to grow in traditional markets with card collectors who like want a better value for their cards or want plus expected value in return. So cards is looking really good. Of course, up 600 or two all-time highs, 621% from where he covered. if we get this dip down, I mean, even here is just fantastic. But if we happen to get lucky enough to get this dip back down in this range, slamming that buy. Litcoin's one I've been talking about. I think their protocol is really interesting. This was my buy zone originally up here. It's tapped in there. I got filled on some orders around this area. Looking for the next entry here. Again, it just seems like markets are getting beat down and people are exiting their low cap positions without really thinking about it. So we take those as opportunities rather than fearful participants selling. So Litcoin looks really interesting. Again, they are doing a lot of stuff on the data side with collecting this data. And as long as it's economically viable, agents are going to come in and contribute these solutions and data points to Litcoin. And this is going to be sold to labs and people that need it. So I do think these experiments are very, very cool. I'm willing to participate in it. I think we're really early. The founders of Chad coming on next week, by the way. There's your little tidbit of information. Looking good. Clued is holding up very nicely. Clued is holding up very nicely in that buy zone, though. I think just what Seb's doing is fantastic. We know that they won the Pump Fund Hackathon. They're likely going to go raise more money. I think it's exactly what he said. They're probably going to do the ace round is what he said as well. This is at 2.3 million. Yeah, no point in not throwing some shekels at it, which is how I'm feeling. Let me go to Pump, right? Pump Fund is in this area. I think this is something that goes with the market. If the market's going to beat us down, this and Meteor are both. If the market's going to keep beating us down, this will probably keep fading off. But when the market starts coming back, I think this is one of the leaders that's going to come out of it because of just how much revenue they do and because how on-chain volume affects Pump Fund. So yes, this is my buy zone, but I'd say if the market's going to keep beating it down, don't fight the market. Let it find a bottom. And once the market starts coming back, of course, the volumes are going to directly affect both Pump Fund and Meteora. And so I think those are two bids to really be had when the market comes back, but it's not even a bad average here. I think I'm starting to average in a little bit. Primus is one. Compute's a big conversation. Compute futures, of course, have been a big topic of discussion with the CME group going and publishing those. I do not own either of the two, actually, but paying attention to both.
I had Squire. I did pretty well in Squire. I was actually providing liquidity to it all the way up and somewhat all the way down here as well. But I've undone those liquidity positions because they're just, Solana.
Yeah. Well, I'll pull up a Squire chart as well. Primus is looking really interesting. Of course, the compute futures. I think we continue to see compute costs rising. We know that they're heavily subsidized. This is like something happening in real time. So Primus has a spot. I think it just needs to be more clarity on where the token comes in. It sucks that it's on bags, to be honest, because I think that's holding it back a lot. No one's paying attention to bags. People kind of just hate the association there. So, we'll see what they do. But Primus, interesting spot here. Holding up very nicely compared to the market, which is, I think, interesting note here. Meteor has some new updates. Josh, have you been using them? Yeah, if you were here at the start of the show, Josh he covered his trade on this.
As for the new updates, no, I think the big ones are the new categories they've added. There's also like a filter now for the quote currency that I've been using. But to be honest with you, Crypto Jones, I haven't really got Josh, it's best to measure. Yeah, look, I don't care what the dollars are. I'm like a lifetime crypto holder. I just try and stack more crypto, to be honest with you. But yeah. Sorry, yeah, let's go to this. Can you what are the key features they added?
This is from the 20th.
Yeah, go back to down one right there. Okay, one
Universal
search. Okay, I've not used that effectively yet. Discovery page, new tab yet. So, I was trying to go read the tweet there. I think this is just a marketing thing. Just click into it. Okay. Universal search. Go down. All right. Is there a follow-on tweet to it?
Oh, yeah, here we
go. So recent searches, add pools. Yeah, favorite is the thing. I always am trying to go back to pools that I've been in before. Token market cap data. I want to say I think I know what that is. Probably okay, yeah, because one of the annoying things with Meteor before is like you didn't know the market cap of what you were LPing in unless you denominated the chart in that, and then as soon as you switch that to market cap from, I don't know, like another metric on the chart. It like removed your DLIM position overlaid on the chart, which was a little annoying.
Yeah, we had to start early for our Aussie folks. So we had Dolphin on. You should definitely go watch that back. Pretty crazy conversation. And then Daydreams, they're both Australian. So it's 12 hours ahead for them. So it was 12 a.m., 1 a.m. for them. So we tried, since we got 2 of them, we figured we'd just move the entire thing up. But this is the issue with starting early. People aren't familiar with it. We put out every single night, though. We do put out the times of who's coming on. So that's a good way to gauge it. But we know the feed's a little bit messy. Do you believe in SAID? Here, let's get to that in a second. Let's finish reading this Meteora update. Universal search. Okay. No, I think we kind of covered it.
I think we covered everything. This is interesting. Dom gave some fundamental analysis on it. I think from a DLIM position, I just was trying to get some of those fees, and a little late to the party, but I did make some money on it.
Yeah, it's at 2 million now, I think, at this point. I mean, SV151, I can search it up real quick. SV151. Yeah, the issue now is that a bit of a high market cap. Now we know, of course, there is the whatever the net asset value is, and then fees are going to go towards continuing to grow that pie, which is a cool concept. A few things you have to figure out or think of on your own here. The Pokemon meta is super hot. We're seeing Pokemon Ponzi's go absolutely stupid, just vertical. So like there is that. I guess it's a bullish piece. We see everything TCG, everything Pokemon's just hot in general. So it's in the right narrative. I just think, again, there is kind of a ceiling and there is kind of a floor with stuff like this. So more fees, floor goes up. But I think it's more of a gradual increase. So maybe you try to get in there when it's below net asset value, exit when it's, a premium on net asset value is how I would trade this. Kled sub 10. Okay, wait, before I get to that. Do you believe in SAID? I believe in the vision of SAID. Look, early stages, I don't think it's applicable to really take their revenue at face value and put that against the company's market cap. It is so much a growth play. So you can't really be talking about price to earnings here. But yeah, I think SAID, verifiable agents in general, is probably going to be important. I'm not sure how important it's going to be. But they are the leaders. So if you want to make a bet on that general thesis, they are the leaders. And I think
that's probably more the thing, is being early, being the leader.
Right.
You kind of corner the market there, and then all the network effects go back to it. But it's hard to value this business.
Right. Hard to value. I'd say if we get the narrative picking up, this probably is the fastest horse and probably goes way, way, way to a premium on not only, earnings, but to like, what the market's going to be months down the road. So yeah. But I would say, yeah, it's a thesis. Kled sub 10 million. Insane. Kled is 10 mil. I didn't even see it. This is one of those bags I just don't even look at. Kled at 9.5 million. 5% is on chain. They raised at 280 million. I mean, let's call it 300, right? This is 50% below. This is 50% below what it should be, not including growth at all. This is ridiculous. Yeah. I mean, look, it was chopping in a fair zone. I'm not going to sit here and I hold a lot of Kled. I'm in it for the growth. I think they go and raise it $1 billion or closer to $1 billion than to zero at the end of the year. And I'm pretty set on that. So I do think we have like a cool 2, 3, 4x in the tank. Look, opportunity cost is here. If you've been sitting in Kled like me with a large bag, now granted, opportunity cost is being in crypto in general right now, you're not doing great, right? So I'll come on and say like my bag for Kled here was probably better served somewhere else during this entire chop period. On that note, I would definitely not be selling here. I would actually be heavily considering adding here, considering fair value is 50% up from this point.
Are you selling your cards, rolling it back into Kled?
I didn't sell any Kled. Why would I have a lot of Kled, guys. I have a lot of Kled.
No, I know. Oh, you're just like not
size more anymore.
Okay.
I may size. Honestly, I may size here just because it's pitiful. It is at a 50% discount. They raised at 280 million. 5% of this is on chain with up to 10% in future rounds. So it's just well below fair value. So this is not even accounting growth. It's stupid. Market's stupid. Yeah, I would say it's probably a bid zone for Kled. And again, long-term play. I feel like verifying agents isn't that important because do you really need it? Whereas privacy is really important. You think verifying agents is not important and privacy is more so important? Okay. One Piece is the next after Pokemon hype. Buying some cards. Not a bad play, bro. I saw some people really going down the risk curve of cards. Saw some people buying like Mickey Mouse Disney cards. For my NFT bros, I'm sure you remember the Disney, I forget exactly what it was called. Like Disney had a little NFT segment for a while or whatever. I bought a lot of those, but that's since been cooked. I did sell them though. But yeah, One Piece, maybe, dude. I'm not like, we're not Pokemon. We're not Pokemon or cards people, really. I think we're just kind of covering it. Dude, Avi is not buying up supply down here. I don't think they have that kind of cash to do that, to be honest. They just bought it, they got a new office in New York City. I think they're all in on growth. I think I don't think they're buying back the token here. Could they be? Yes, but also like why would he? It would just be buying back his own equity at a discount. I mean, he could go and buy back 1% of equity and resell it at a higher price, right? So buy equity for 150 million, go and resell it for 500 million. Like, sure, I guess he could do that.
If he announced that, it would be like the CLED would pretty candle. I think it would candle. I think I had a good chance.
Just a fair value.
I will say one thing on something verifying agents is once you have the verification layer, you can do things like unsecured lending and stuff like that. And there's like so much that can be built on top of that. So it is like a foundational piece. Whether SED captures all the value and market there of doing that is the more of the question. I don't know.
Yeah. Okay, let's see. Dupe. Dupe also sub 5 million entry ICM failing at the moment. I would disagree. I think ICM's actually in a really good position right now, all things considered. I think these pre-IPO companies are huge. I think Hype's pretty much a play on ICM with all their commodities and listings there. I think regulatory is moving in the right direction. I think Street, SOAR, Bedrock, Ace are doing really cool things. ICM, I mean, what do you consider ICM? Ace has been huge. Oh, falling. Oh, okay. Falling, not falling. Yeah. ICM is falling. Everything's falling, though. It's not specific to ICM. Ace is doing very, very well, though. Anything with Ace integrations has been fantastic. Dupe it's just a bad token. It's just a bad token. That's why it's failing or falling. Either or. Why would you buy Dupe? Right? How about 3? That's crazy. But yeah, let's talk through Dupe real quick. I notoriously sold all my Dupe pretty much at the top here. And I told you guys live I was doing it. Bobby was unhappy at me for doing it. But I told you guys live I was selling all my Dupe here. The question just becomes like, Bobby clearly does not want this to represent equity. He doesn't want you guys to be on the cap table. So that's not going to happen. It's not going to represent equity in the company. Right now it represents like a point program, right? If you go and spend on their account, you can get Dupe tokens, but there's zero meaningful, like you don't get a meaningful amount from it. So there's no reason. There's really good tokens out there that actually have network effects and tie into the business. Dupe's just not that. I mean, no one can say it is. So that's why I sold all my Dupe. It's why it probably continues to fall unless there's a switch up. And I'm happy to bite my tongue and reposition if they switch their stance on that. But at the moment, they're not. Does Cards do sports too? I do think they have sports segment. Yeah, they do One Piece, or I think they're getting into it at the very least.
Not only that, he was going to do league by league. So like MLB, NHL, like there's probably wrestling cards would be massive. I don't know if there's like UFC cards, but he did mention on the last call that there would be verticalized versions of sports cards. And it was like, when I looked at the data, it was like 1% of their revenue. So I think it's like a massive growth.
And comic books. You want to talk about good tokens with real value? It's cards. I mean, they have 30 million plus net asset value of cards. So you have like kind of a stop there. And then also the TWAM's come out and said it. We want all economics to flow back to the token, like bar none. Yes, there's this sandbox of legislation and legalities that we have to operate around. We can't technically say all that stuff, but that's the end goal. So
yeah, and I think a good note to founders on here is like you don't have to explicitly spend the 10 grand to get the legal structure figured out today. I think it's more of like you want to see directionally where this is headed, and
right.
That's what they essentially did. but yeah, I mean, done really well. Dom,
It's
I
all,
do.
all talk till it's not ultimately, but again, traders are narrative driven. So if you kind of give that, like Josh said, directionally where you're headed, it does help. What's up, Josh?
Yeah, do you mind pulling up WorldCoin? I want to do a little segment on this because I did buy this yesterday.
Yeah, I got you. After I pull up 3 here, just because that's in the
Oh
comments.
my gosh, 3. And I'm sorry, guys, I was skeptical of 3, but man, this chart is like
Trying to get them on the show. This went from 1 million, 2 million to 16 in 4 days, 5 days. Insane. Of course, off the back of the IBM partnership, and I as well saw this partnership and figured, it's not going to really do much in this market. It's surface level. Maybe, boy, was I wrong. Boy, was I wrong. Yeah, 3 is going absolutely insane. I don't know much about it. 3 is a marketplace and runtime for 3D AI agents, autonomous characters that users can discover, deploy, and pay to interact with. Each agent lives in a fully rendered 3D environment powered by Three.js and can be monetized by its creator through time passes, trials, and per session payments using USDC and the X42 payment protocol. Creators can list agents on the marketplace, set pricing, and earn directly. Users browse the catalog, launch agents in browser, and pay with their connected wallets with no intermediary. The platform also includes a built-in wallet with wallet dashboard for balances, receipts, and withdrawals. 3 is infrastructure for agents, economy, own, run, and earn from AI agents with real on-chain payments. The thing is, this concept itself is not really new. I don't find it very exciting, frankly. But the partnership, I think partnership is being used loosely here. This is the issue with these partnerships, right? I remember people getting the NVIDIA Inception program, being like, oh, partner with NVIDIA. It's like, dude, you got in the NVIDIA Inception program, which anyone can do. So I don't know all the details of the partnership, but I would say, like, be very cautious when someone says they're partnered with anyone, because what's the extent of that partnership? Are you just using their platform? Are you part of like a grant they got? What's the extent of your partnerships? Is it a strategic partnership? So probably accurate take here on 3 Top Fumbler, but trying to get them on to have them break it down. Nice. Rookie cards for all sports do very well. Yep. Idle Protocol. Idle Protocol. Got to look at them as well. They got NVIDIA. That's what did I say though, bro? NVIDIA, is this NVIDIA Inception? NVIDIA Inception is washed. Here, I'll do a quick check. I want to get into Josh's thing in a second here, but let me just look at this. If I look up Idle Protocol, what's their thing? And I see NVIDIA Inception program, and you're hitting me with the NVIDIA partnership, I'm going to be very disappointed. Idle Protocol here. Let's see. Let's see what you're talking about. And it has been doing well. Like, the chart looks good on this. Partner with Pay AI. Okay. Here. NVIDIA. Let's do that. Yeah, I'll search the full name. It's probably better. Here we go. Mistral AI. Okay, Idle X Mistral AI. Mistral AI, backed by NVIDIA, A16Z, and ASML, with 830 million raised at 13 billion, is now live on Idle Network. Okay, but the Mistral models are available today, so I think they just listed their models on the network. So again, this is not, unless I see Mistral comment here, I don't think Mistral is even aware of this. Let's see. Yeah, this is April.
Risk says no partnership, just that they're looking at the if I even this week caused to go bonkers.
Talking about 3, yeah.
Oh my gosh, 30K, Daddy Duster. Yikes.
Yikes. What are you gonna do, bro? It's a difficult market. You can't even be mad about that. But yeah, so that's the deal, boys. Like, be very careful. Lesson in here is be very careful with partnerships, but also clearly they can propel things. So if you're willing to hop in and out for a quick trade, I mean, this is a play, right? If you saw the IBM partnership here, you could have traded it up. And then of course, under the perception that maybe it's not as people are expecting, and you could probably, make a nice little trade off that. With that being said, Josh here, I'll let you riff on this.
All right, so I'm going to go through a couple things. This is going to be my quick WorldCoin thesis. I am just going straight to not fading Arthur Hayes. He was right on Near, right on Hype, and I just kind of followed him on those trades and did well. I didn't take Near, but his key theme is Anthropic, IPO, and as well as SpaceX. Is that basically WorldCoin has got this like bear trap where everyone was shorting it, and they did OTC to raise funds, and everyone was like really bearish of it. And there's a good chunk of the supply that's owned by Orbs, 8.5%. So basically, everyone's chasing this OpenAI and Anthropic exposure, and here World is sitting at 2 billion fully diluted, or 2 billion, sorry, unlocked market cap. So that's what's in circulation. By July 24th, I don't know where that is in this. Yeah, July 24th, the unlock rate is set to drop 43%, which is quite significant. So good to note. So there could be like some kind of supply side change that gives a little bit of a shock to this. World doesn't move often, but when it does, it's aggressive. He has a $5 target by August. Well, I mean, it's in like 60 days. So right now it's like, it was at 45 cents. I think my entry is 50 cents. So that's the World thesis. Now, what I did is pumped into Google here, and I just asked, hey, Google, what are the WorldCoin partnerships? So they're doing proof of human. Now, why this is important is because the AI, the world is like, the internet is so full of AI that we don't know like really what anything actually is, if it's real or not. Are we talking to real people? Now they have partnerships with Tinder, Zoom, Coinbase, Visa. This is where I get really excited because these are like not your crypto LARP partnerships. These are actual integrations with some of the world's largest companies. So World ID has been integrated into Tinder to verify user authenticity to reduce catfishing, and is being utilized by Zoom to distinguish real humans from AI bots in meetings. Again, how many people have gotten scammed? Exactly, Dom. And how many people have gotten scammed on Tinder, right? World partner with Coinbase to launch Agent Kit, allowing users to use ZK proofs. So agent can crypto verify, that they're acting. Visa, World Visa card, allowing verified World ID holders to transact using World. Anyways, there's like, another one is like on, what is it called? The Ticketmaster. I mean, there's a huge problem with like AI agents that are basically like scamming, Taylor Swift tickets. They buy a bunch of supply and then they sell it and make a bunch of money. Long story short is I think World is just got a lot of headline grabbing partnerships that can move the price. There's all this kind of market infrastructure that honestly is a little over my head. But if you go read Maelstrom Fund's thesis posts here, you'll understand kind of the market structure stuff that Arthur Hayes is betting on. And then there's just the Arthur Hayes shill effect that I think will be add to this, and Sam Altman. Everyone wants OpenAI exposure. Yes.
Question on this. What does the Tinder economics mean for World? Does anything flow back to the token, or at this point it's kind of just a bit of a proxy?
I think it's just a proxy. I wouldn't read into anything more than just narrative.
Because Sam Altman hasn't like sat here and endorsed this whatsoever, correct?
Yeah, he has. This is his company. He owns.
Oh, recently he has.
Yeah, like let me WorldCoin. Sam.
No, the thing about Arthur Hayes too is like last week he was calling Hype Near.
He's a co-founder 2019 by OpenAI CEO Sam Altman and Alex Blania, and the initial thesis was they used the token to incentivize people to put their biometric data on the platform. And they have 500,000 biometric users or something like that. Which that data alone could be worth $2 billion. Like what was, the Me 21 or whatever that is,
23andMe.
23andMe. Like, I mean, again, this stuff is quite valuable. Anyways, that's my World thesis. I don't know if I'm going to hold it to, if it goes to $5, like I'm thrilled.
It's doing good, man. It's the best performing asset here in the last couple of days, to be honest.
Yeah, it's
at least in this size.
it's an outlier. I think the narrative has got out there. I don't know if it's a good here. Can you chart it real quick? I can't open a chart. My
Yeah,
computer's gonna
dude,
die.
I'm not gonna lie, bro. Spotting these narratives for like these majors has been extremely easy. Extremely
Oh my
easy.
goodness. What's it at? 63?
63 cents.
Bro, I sold my hype and bought this.
Imagine, bro, your rotation's been crazy. No, but like realistically, dude, the attention trades have been so easy on these mid to high cap majors. So easy. Like you see Twitter start to briefly talk about a few guys pick it up, and these things just go. Like you could have. I mean, we've been talking about WorldCoin here for like 2 weeks now, just off of the little bit of hype and buzz it got. You can just same thing happened with, Near, even Zach, Sui, Railgun, even like, dude, if you're chasing narratives, you can do it really easily, I think, with specific ones. Of course, it's got to be good to some extent and have like a decent thesis, but decent thesis plus a bit of movement in the market, I think you can get charts just like this we're seeing with World. And
a little Sam Altman exposure. This is like why I don't think crypto is dead. Like I think we are seeing like
bottom.
We are seeing bottom. Like this
Bottom.
is you're seeing these rotations. Hype was first. Now World is going like so another one that I really like, I actually bought a position is TON at I think my average is 190, so a little higher than I'd like it. But I really like this here. It's on the Jones Rida 50-day moving average, and the rebrand to Gram, I think will do, which is the original white paper, will do them absolute like great. And the token's integrated all across Telegram. Like it's going to be using for like NFTs. Go watch Pavel's he did a thing with Lex Friedman, a podcast talking about TON network. And he just talked for like 15 minutes about how this token is going to be a core part of Telegram going forward. So I just, DeFi, everything's going to happen on the network. The network's like 5 billion, bro. And I just think there's a lot of upside here. I mean, it has all the liquidity, all the partnerships, like everything's going for this. I like it on this pullback here.
Crypto Jones says hindsight's always 2020. What's next? This is true. Although I would say we gave you a lot of this stuff before it actually kind of moved. So you could say
I gave the hype thesis at $26 and I was pounding the table. I think World is one of those, and I think
World hasn't gone yet.
Gram is one of these.
Like World has not gone yet. It looks good here, but if you get a pullback, like the thesis, I don't think thesis is still intact. I think Grass is fitting into that. I need to listen to their holder report. I think Jetto kind of fits in this perp narrative, not so much. Near definitely does with their privacy stuff. So Nears, I think there you go. One that's not in complete hindsight. TON, there you go. It's on a good dip. So there's like 3 for you, right? World, Jupiter, TON, or World, TON, Near.
Yeah, I think the mindset's different with these Crypto Jones. Like something, you're not going to make a 5x overnight on it, but it's also going to be not going to be down 50% overnight when you wake up in the morning either. So it's,
yeah, unless Arthur Hayes goes and switches his tune.
But I mean, even then,
Trinity and selling.
He sold hype and it's like down 9%. I think there's a lot of people looking at that thinking, okay, well, if it gets back to $50, I'm praying for it to get back to $50 because I miss $20 to 70. So now I want it at 50. And I still think hype's $100 billion circulating.
Yeah, hype's circulating. An easy trade.
Yeah, hype's an easy trade. Like, so these are kind of larger caps, but they're easy trades to make.
But it's consensus now. That's the only scary part.
It's consensus now, but again, in the broader context, remember what I was saying. It's consensus in crypto, but it's not consensus across normal finance.
Right.
It's still super early across normal finance. So you like, what's that buy area you had on hype?
I mean, I just had this range down here.
Right there. Okay. So I think I like it. Probably a little closer to 50, but I think you slam like, yeah, put a couple levels. Like my trade, I'm getting back to hype. Don't worry. I will be going back to hype, but I want to see it come back in a little bit more.
Yeah. I think Josh is right. You get into that 50 range. it gets interesting to where like, okay, you're on a nice dip. You get back down here to where any of this accumulation happened. It's like, okay, sophisticated money, smart money has stepped in here. There's a lot of demand at these levels. So like this is a really safe bet, I think, down at this golden box. But still really good dips, I think sub 50. So
Okay, last one I have for you guys is, if you share my screen, toggle back. Zinc. I'm back to Zinc, guys. I've opened it up on this call. You may have seen me lagging a little bit because I got it in on this dip here, 1.6. I like Zinc a lot. I watched the interview. I was not on yesterday live, and I'm just gonna stop screen sharing because it's lagging me. But the Dune dashboard is now live. Oh, that's a good one to show. Sorry, Dom. That's actually a great one to show. Their Dune dashboard is live. As a percentage of their market cap, the fees that they're generating compared to things like ore is insane. Like we're talking huge amounts of SOL. So keep an eye on this. I think Zinc will potentially have a run. I could see this going to 10 mil in the right market, the right setup. I listened to the guy yesterday and
not very impressed.
So Dom wasn't impressed. I was impressed that he's not like someone on totally someone.
We just need that. Well, obviously you're bag working here, right?
I am bag working. Yeah,
let's be real.
I'm in this trade.
I think we need to have the dev on. We had a last minute switch up. I don't think we really gathered a lot. I think the mechanism was still pretty unclear after our conversation. And so like I not saying I'm not going to take that at face value and be like I don't like Zinc because the conversation really didn't click too much for me yesterday. But I think we need to have the dev on. I think the system needs to be explained better. There's a lot of different facets to it, which makes it a bit complicated. That's the one thing. But yeah, I mean, the numbers are there. The numbers are something you can lean on.
Well, let's say this. We went for the FUD on Zinc being like, we don't know who the team is. They're like whatever copy pasta situation. And he got on, he had a nice 4K camera, but he also, I believe, said he worked at Phantom or something like that. There was a little segment.
He's a goat. He's a goat.
There's not like what the thing is like, these aren't anon random people. The guy who's running growth here is running, he has a big show on Solana. That gets retweeted by Solana, and so they're just and they're MetaDAO folks. So, anyways, I'm not like fading it just because I don't understand it. Look, I don't understand all the mechanics here, but I just look at the look at the numbers. Go to the Dune dashboard. Can you click into that Dune dashboard? What's the numbers?
Your screen, bro?
Yeah. Sorry, my bad.
It's all good.
And I am bag working. I told you guys I'm in this, so I'm not going to flip 15,000 SOL. Sorry.
Protocol revenue.
Okay. 160,000 SOL through the protocol, almost 16,000 SOL in just revenue.
The numbers are insane.
Like the supply. So as of yesterday, it was actually deflationary. Okay. So as of yesterday, it was deflationary. Yeah. Anyways, supply growth, I think is a very modest 0.24%.
Great dashboard, by the way.
Yesterday, 12,600 Zinc melted. We're already at today, 6,000, and these numbers are trending in the right way. A lot of distribution of holders is on the low end here. I guess just keep an eye on this. That's all I'm saying, guys. Just keep an eye on this. I think it's pulled back quite a bit. And when it pulls back, the ratio between the buybacks to the market cap become quite favorable and put a bit of a floor in. So
yeah, I mean, look, I'll lean on your side here. I don't want to sound like a hate fest. I do think their team is pretty experienced. They've been building this for a while. I think the numbers are really good. So I'm not going to judge it based on the conversation yesterday. I don't think we got the full picture, but there's a lot. There's
daily buybacks. Like this is beautiful.
I mean, look, today they've already had. I mean, today they've already almost reached all-time highs, and we're what? It's 1 o'clock. We got 6 hours or whatever, 7 hours till this is over.
Yeah.
So impressive stuff. Guys, I'm calling it there. I'm calling it there. We may have another little AI season coming up, right? Serve is starting to pop up again. This will stage. Serve is starting to pop up again. Banker, guys, if Banker gives you an entry and you think we're coming back for a base season number 2, this is like the very obvious proxy bet. So yeah, Banker at 53 million, I think is like compared to some other launch pads that are trading at much higher valuations. I think Banker overtook Pump Fun one day last month or something. So like, you know, one to watch. Outside of that, Claw Pump, of course, their revenues are insane, right? They've done 80 million in volume. They keep 1% of that, right? So they've done 800K revenue. I think like 500's gone back to ecosystem, but still 300K revenue in the last couple months is really impressive for a $3 million project. They won the Pump Fun Hackathon. This is on a pretty significant dip. We had them on the show. I can't remember if it was right here. Probably right there when it really started running. I think probably
Yeah,
right
it was. What's that number there?
I think we had the bottom at 1,800,000 on the 22nd or 23rd of
Well,
May.
here I
Probably
can
23rd of May.
I can find exactly.
Nonetheless, we're getting back down to those levels, and I think it's interesting there. Pod we've had on the show, or Pod we just had on the show today. Really interesting what they're doing. The numbers are pretty impressive. Deus, this is the position I've taken. I'm down on it. I've talked about my thesis, hoping it comes back. I think it's just market's being stupid. But yeah, that's
May
my,
22nd on Claw Pump. So,
okay, yeah, like literally the bottom of that little intraday dip. Anything else? We got Meteora. We talked about Kled. Oh, Meteora is not looking great at all. 65 million. Again, this comes back with the market. Same with Pump. Pumpcade on a dip here. Their ace round is closed at this point, so you cannot no longer convert tokens to equity. But you know, assuming it opens back up at some point down here, we might find undervalued territory again. CPT, Defense Tech. Yeah, I think this is positioned well if you're patient. I, of course, still hold pretty significant position in that.
Did they drop an update? They said Wednesdays was their update days.
I think they dropped something, but it wasn't crazy. I think it was just like a minimum viable product. Like they had the MVP of their drone or something they released. I mean, I can check real quick for you.
Yeah, can you? I just want to see it.
June 1st, they were on. Today's Thursday, so okay, June 3rd. Oh, what the heck? They must have reposted. Oh, they must have reposted this. Dang, it's got 15K. Jeez Louise.
Wow.
We got motion, bro. I'm not gonna lie. I'm going through our old full segments. Everything's getting like 10, 20, 30, 50K on it, impressions wise. So pretty crazy. Magra's robotics update. Yeah, this would be it here. I think this was June 3rd. Yeah, stage of development. Proof of concept achieved. MVP in development. Okay, so MVP is in development, but proof of concept has been achieved. CPT-enabled warehouse robot, AMR with AI controls, a central open architecture mission bay for mounting arms or carrier trays. Power is projected from the warehouse floor to enable round-the-clock operations. Impulsor is in active negotiations with leading AI suppliers for mission execution software. Proof of concept achieved. So yeah, development there. Yeah, I agree. Have it on your watch list, Crypto Jones, at the very least. Robotics narrative, I think, is going to hit us here in the next 6 months to a year. We're gonna get a pretty big robotics narrative.
I completely agree with it. There'll be one clip of like, I don't know, some city in Texas or something where the robot is like picking up trash and stuff. And then people are going to be like, oh, like this, it's obvious now. And then that narrative is just going to reprice.
Yep. All right, guys, going to jump here. Appreciate you. 1,500 of you guys in here today. We appreciate you all tuning in. Went hard for 3.5 hours. Great interviews. As always, every day we're coming out. Not coming out, Josh maybe, but not me. Every day we're popping out, doing big things. And tomorrow, let's give a look at the schedule before we leave you guys. And remember, go follow the YouTube channel, MCG Live on YouTube, if you want to kind of catch some of these. We know the feed gets clogged up. A great way to catch everything is the MCG Live YouTube channel.
Man, we've added like 600 followers this week. That's crazy.
Crazy. Highlights. Where is there we go. Here we go. Here is the schedule. Tomorrow we have Bruce coming on, who turned $700 into 100K on FOMO. Going to get some good tidbits from a trader perspective here. And then Sonder coming on after, another great trader who's doing fire, which I know crypto Top Fumbler is excited for, because he said it's the best Ponzi on the market, or not Ponzi, MechFi or whatever it is. So originally we were going to kind of shy away from talking about fire because it was low market cap. I think since then, though, it's kind of climbed quite a bit. It's actually looking really good from a chart standpoint. Let me see if I can find that. I need the CA because it's not popping up.
We don't say the P word out here.
Yeah, sorry. But this is the
stream.
chart. Chart looks really solid. This is the chart as of whenever he posted it, June 3rd, yesterday. So probably down because of the market, but that'll be a good one. I am going to prompt Chill to talk about fire more than we were originally thinking, because if Top Fumbler says it's a good mechanism, maybe it is. And we've talked about
Top Fumbler calls have been actually pretty lit. I'm not gonna lie.
Shout out. It's the easiest coin to hold. All right.
Why?
Tune in tomorrow.
Why?
Nope. We'll learn tomorrow. I gotta
All
go,
right,
dude.
we'll learn tomorrow. All right. See you guys.
All right. See you, boys. Peace. Follow MCG on Twitter. Keep up to
And
date.
MCG Alpha.
Yes, MCG Alpha gets all the notes and the alpha. Join the